Kid Icarus Uprising. Sakurai's third-person shooter got its much-needed third installment. 19. 3D Outrun. Bask under sunsets, palm trees, and neon in this racing game from the 80s. 3D Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master. Another Sega classic remastered for the modern audiences. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. The second Mario Bros. Journey is filled with spooks. 16. Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. After taking its time on the Wii, the 3DS gets to share its blessings with this port of Monolith Soft's massive JRPG. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, the fourth mainline entry to Capcom's action-packed RPG. It was the first MH to debut the terrifying Megalos and streamlined its movement with more player freedom. Pokemon Moon, the moon to Pokemon Sun. Together, these started the 7th generation of Game Freak's Pocket Monsters. 13. Mario Kart 7. Nintendo's premier racing game. May or may not be fun with friends. 12. Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward. The Nonary games have also made their way to the 3DS. Pokemon Y. Marking the start of the 6th generation Pokemon, Y and X took players to the Kalos region. 10. Bravely Default Flying Fairy. On the topic of fairies, this is the first chapter of the Bravely Default series. 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sega's Blue Speedster gets a spot on this list. Like the good old days of its 1992 original, stop the evil Dr. Robotnik from stealing the Chaos Emeralds. Animal Crossing New Leaf. The game that turned your 3DS into a pocket sanctuary for your digital friends. Shovel Knight. You can't just ignore this knight and his trusty shovel. Super Mario 3D Land. The Mario game that maximized the potential of the 3DS's hardware. 3D Streets of Rage 2. A classic brawler reinvented for the 3DS. Enjoy the return of your favorite characters and a handful of new faces that can pack a punch. Fire Emblem Awakening. Robin and Chrom make their first appearance in the famed tactical RPG series' 13th installment. 3. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. The first Zelda game to showcase its 3DS features. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask 3D. Link's isekai journey is a game remembered by many, from its creepy-looking masks to its ugly moons and doomsday clock always on the move. Number 1. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D. Zelda takes our top 3 and ends it with one of the most revered games of all time. Ocarina of Time.
All right, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Timeless Gamer, where the games and gamers grow out of date, but the gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. Your gaming podcast show brought to you by Pinoy Retro Gaming, and we are now live in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And for all of our archive videos of previous episodes, you can still check them out by going to the YouTube channel of Timeless Gamer. So that's Timeless Gamer PRG. Or if you just want to listen to us talk without our beautiful faces, that is fine. You can also listen to us by going to Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Samsung Podcast, Podcast Index, Listen Notes, Pandora, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Deezer by searching in Timeless Gamer. I hear people keep asking me, "Hey, are you just saying those things?" No, no, we're all there. Seriously, guys, they're all there. And previously on Timeless Gamer, we were able to discuss a few independent video games suggested to us by Sir Greg, which is here joining us for this episode of the 3DS. Sir Greg,
Hey, it's great to see everybody here, live from New
all right,
Orleans.
coming from New Orleans, all right. And how about Sir JDM right there?
Yes, Juan DeMarcos of 123 Go from the Queen City of the South Cebu City. And I hope you enjoy tonight's episode.
All right, all right. And the one who suggested the 3DS episode and the one leading the charge for this evening, Sir Viraj.
All right, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Always an honor and a pleasure to be here on these timeless podcasts. I do
On the
hope you
timeless podcast.
on the timeless podcast on the timeless live stream. Enjoying this. We have a lot to get through today in terms of Nintendo's handheld or their last dedicated handheld, and I hope we have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, great that you can join us. Stick with us because I think this is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of new things that you're going to see, which will be insightful. So there we have it.
Oh boy! So prepare your wallets, guys, because Sir Viraj will be flashing in some some of his games, willing to sell. All right. Oh,
there we go.
speaking of collectors, joining us for the very first time, I consider her as one of the legendary Pokemon. She's very elusive to catch. From JRPG Philippines, we got Miss Hino Tora, Lady Hino for short. Miss Hino,
Hi everyone, good evening, and thank you for tuning in. I'd just like to thank Joe RPG for inviting me again. I think this is my second time in the Timeless Gamer podcast, so it's really fun when I get to hang out with you guys.
all right. So, for those people who are not aware of Miss Lady Hino's background, so we will give this opportunity for you guys to get to know her better. So, Miss Hino, can you tell us about yourself?
Okay, so about me, I've been gaming since I was 7 years old during the PS1 era, and I haven't stopped ever since. But when it comes to collecting, I think I only started around 2015 or 2016. That's when I really started to get into games. And I think the first console where I collected games for are both the NDS and the 3DS. So this is a very timely episode for me.
All right. So like we mentioned earlier, guys, so she's the so excuse me, so she's the admin for JRPG Philippines. So most likely, her genre, the favorite genre of choice, will be JRPGs. A fellow JRPG enthusiast here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So expect her to be here when we're going to talk more about JRPG titles. Looking at you, Chrono Trigger. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, we got Sir Siebert Silagan here. Sir Siebert saying, "Woohoo, Chrono Trigger, best RPG. Will forever keep trolling the anti Chrono Trigger party here in Timeless Gamer." Please use Sir Siebert. We also got Sir Celestine Alejandro joining us at the chat. Sir Jansen, of course, is here. So he also joined us the last time he was here talking about the indie games from Mega Cat Studios. And Sir Jo Marie Dasser is also here. Hi, dudes. Sir Asopanting here as well. And Miss Charlene, who can't be here, unfortunately. We're also expecting Sir Joel to join us. He's just preoccupied as of the moment. So soon he'll just pop in here. So for today's episode, guys, 3DS. As you remembered, we did the Nintendo DS episode a while back. So ultimately, we will be doing the 3DS the 3DS games, and we've been setting this particular episode during the back burner in the back burner because we're juggling between topics, and then Serverage reminded us, oh, we should do some 3DS games because reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will give it now to Serverage
All right.
to lead us on regarding the 3DS hardware, the variants, and of course the
Mhm.
games. So Serverage,
Yeah.
you got the floor.
All right. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, let's begin with this. So, as we all know, the Nintendo 3DS was Nintendo's last sort of dedicated handheld console before they created what they call the hybrid system, which is the Nintendo Switch as we all know and love today, which has been very successful, still continues to be very successful because you can play it on your TV and you can take it on the go. But the Nintendo 3DS was something that was supported for a great number of years before the Nintendo Switch actually came out. And it was very successful. And it was successful because it was on the back of an even greater, more successful system that Nintendo brought out, which was, as we mentioned earlier, the Nintendo DS. This is the DS Lite version I have here. Which this sold 150 million units, 154 million units worldwide, all the different variants of this. So again, this was a big deal. Okay, it's definitely a big deal, and its library of games was just vast, you know, and there are just so many of them, and because the Nintendo DS was successful, this was actually successful on the back of it. I mean, it actually shares. Let's just have a look at this. Actually, I'll do this now. Just having putting these two together. They're very similar systems, aren't they? If you look at them, okay, they're both dual screen mechanisms. So this was the 2D version, and this is the 3D version, and it's what people think when it came out. Well, okay, so this is 3D, but what made it so much more special? But we'll touch on that soon enough. But going forward, I mean, let's just have a very quick snapshot of the 2D, or the DS library, I should say, as to why it was successful, and it just had so much going for it. I'll just go through my collection. We'll have a quick fire round with the games that I have for the Nintendo DS, and we'll talk about just why it was successful very briefly. But look, we got strategy RPGs. You got Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, which needs no introduction. It continues Fire Emblem being launched on the West on the Game Boy Advance. You have strategy games such as Advance Wars Dual Strike. Very, very popular game. This was an interesting one. Star Fox Command. This is a strategy, action game. It's very weird. It's pretty much based on the Star Fox 2 that was on Super Nintendo in the way it plays. Very unique way it plays. Very difficult game to play, but I've beaten it. It's a lot of fun. So you got that. Then you have, I think, you got Sir Joe and you got Miss Hino here, who are big fans of JRPGs, action RPGs. And you have that with the Nintendo DS as well, with the sequel to the great Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, you got Partners in Time, very, very popular game. You have another one for the Final Fantasy lovers. Final Fantasy 3 was ported on this device, You have even, and who would have thought Sega would have gone ahead and made Sonic an RPG, but they worked with BioWare, and this is the only Sonic-themed RPG I know of, which is turn-based, I think. Very, very popular game.
What?
There's a
Sonic RPG?
There's a Sonic
I'm
RPG.
gonna hold against that, even as a fan of
BioWare.
Sonic.
What?
I'm sorry. You have to look
I want to
at
check that out.
all
Actually, now I'm curious.
I recommend you watch
It's a good
the What
It's-
Happened video on this particular game and all the behind the scenes trouble that came to developing and how this game came about, and not to mention the lawsuit that Sega received when Ken Penders sued the company because they somehow ripped his stories off as he claimed.
Yeah,
Although-
so it's this game goes really cheap, by the way. So if you want to explore it, you can. This is so the next game, next RPG. Obviously, this is the one we just mentioned earlier, Chrono Trigger. This is the best way to play it. Those of us who have it, no, it's gone from being controversial to being happy. You see, so Greg, this is a very good 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 Eurogamer.
I have to confess, I wasn't able to play the game the whole way through. It was the first game I would say that got me invested in the story itself. I was watching my brother play the whole game through, basically, including the number of multiple endings that he shot for. So it's an excellent RPG. It's a true classic for a reason. I would recommend it as well.
Yeah.
Me and Sir JDM are holding our breath until the trial.
Golden Sun, Dark Dawn. I haven't even opened this game. That's how lazy I got towards the end. But that's an RPG that people love. They love Golden Sun. It was a sequel that came out too many years too late. So there
I
we have
played
it.
the first one on the Game Boy Advance.
Yes.
I recommend that hardcore. I would go so
Yeah.
far to say the Game Boy Advance is my favorite of the Nintendo
Yeah.
handhelds, I would
I'm
say.
in the same boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, the Bone Sun games are classics.
Yeah, they are classics.
I recommend those two.
Moving on from JRPGs, we have a whole series of what I call like puzzle. Actually, they're games in their own genre, specifically designed with touchscreens in mind. I mean, this is pretty much a pervert's game. Don't judge me, right? There weren't that many release games on release. This was one of them. Feel the Magic XYXX. It was known as Project Rub in the UK. But,
How much do you want me to feel it?
Feel the magic, eh?
Feel the magic.
Oh, I'm
eh?
feeling it. I'm
That's
feeling
it.
it.
Mr. Driller Drill Spirits. Somebody mentioned in my Game Boy Advance video, where's Mr. Driller? Well, I've got it for the DS, and this is actually a very challenging puzzle game. So you have that. We have WarioWare Touched, another sort of semi-release title. You know, very addictive micro puzzler game. Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. We all know what that's about. We have the sequel to the Perverts game called The Rub Rabbit. So we've got a gang of perverts rubbing things. So we have that. This is a very odd game. It's called Electroplankton. It's about making music, but you know, it's a game that I gave as a shot, but I never really got into it. What am I saying? But it is true. This is a sequel to Mario versus Donkey Kong. The sequel came out on the DS. March of the Minis. Very good game. A worthy sequel. We have Tetris DS. If Tetris on the Game Boy wasn't enough, this is actually a very
That's probably the
game.
most time I've spent on a DS game right there.
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
a addictive puzzle game. Probably the most
God,
addictive than the Tetris franchise, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. That is addictive, and I love the music to this, but that particular game. I think music is a large factor of me being immersed into a game, for sure. This one's an interesting one. Trauma Center Under the Knife. This is much more challenging than the Wii version that came out. But yeah, you play as a doctor and you have to heal things and whatever. But anyway,
What was the other game where you also work on a hospital besides Trauma Center? There was another game for the DS. I forgot what it was.
Oh, I don't know about any other game, so I'm at a loss there. But there were loads of games on the DS, so there was everything for everyone on this thing. I mean, it was actually the second most popular console of all time in terms of sales. It was second after the PlayStation 2, and it just had such a vast library. So yeah, there probably is another game where you're in a hospital. This is the last sort of weird miscellaneous thing. It's called WarioWare DIY. I don't know why I even bought this game. I thought it'd be as good as the original, but you have to like make your games, and you have to make the games. Get that. Anyway, so there's that, and then they did this thing, and this is really interesting what Nintendo were doing. This is when the DS Lite was released. Touch Generations. They had these things. Well, let's do this properly. You see that little logo there. Touch Generation. This is a game for everyone, and that's what Nintendo were trying to promote with the whole Wii Sports thing. Let's make an all-time classic. This one was a big seller, wasn't it? You know, to make your mind, you know, younger, you know, by practicing on it. It's a bunch of games that you play on it, but I'm like, whatever, man. Yeah,
well,
you've got one too. So many training games on this thing. It's ridiculous. But hey, listen, it's something, right? Then you have like this is a favorite. If you like Mega Man ZX, you know, you got that, and there was also ZX Advent, which I didn't like much, but I just have this one. You know, it's a good sort of run and gun side scrolling game, so a bit of fun. This one's a good one. This one's quite rare, actually. You might actually be excited by this one. Contra 4 on the DS. Okay, this is a great game. Okay, I can't stress it. It's only been released on the DS and mobile. Give it a go. If you can find it, play it. It's also available on my mobile. Give it a go. So yeah, Contra DS. And this is actually where the DS was also very popular. You have, you know, novellas, you know, point and click adventures like Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. And the story in this is just outstanding. You know, it was so great. I couldn't wait for a UK release. I got the American sequel, okay? And I love the sequel so much. I got the Japanese threequel. I didn't learn Japanese. It was actually an English localized translation in this. But I love the Phoenix Wright trilogy. Love the story. Objection. You also have Hotel Dusk, Room 215, another sort of point and click. And there were a lot of games like this, which are basically point and click adventure games. We got Lady Hino showing, she's got Hotel Dusk and she's got something else in her hand there. I can't really see it. But yeah, good stuff. Let's have a look.
It's the sequel to Hotel Dusk.
The last window.
It's the last window. The sequel.
It had a sequel. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to look into that. We got Apollo Justice, which is the sequel to Phoenix Wright's sort of adventures. And you have like a spin-off game called Miles Edgeworth Investigation. So that's just how much of a fan I was of Phoenix Wright. So you have that. let's talk about Metroidvania games. Although I should really say Castlevania games, because you got Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, you have Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, you have Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. It's all three of them. They are the divine trilogy of Metroidvania games or Castlevania games on the DS, and they're all worth owning and playing for sure. But here's a surprise for you. There's this game by Sega, published by Sega, made by WayForward, Aliens Infestation. This game was a late release, came out even after the 3DS was out, but they still released it and it's great. It's a good Metroidvania game, probably the best 2D Alien game I've ever played. There you go. And let's have a look at the final lot that we've got here, final bunch of games. We've got platformers, Mario DS, which was a remastered great game, in its own right. We have Rayman DS, which is basically a port of Rayman 2, The Great Escape on the N64. Funnily enough, there's a 3DS version of this, which is actually the port of the Dreamcast version. So there you go. You got New Super Mario Brothers, popular game. Yoshi's Island DS, popular game.
Ooh.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Rush Adventure, Sonic Colors. So you've got some really cool platforms on this device. So there we have it. We've got some racing games here. We've got Mario Kart DS, Diddy Kong Racing DS. So, very popular racing games altogether you have on this. And Mario Kart DS was a game changer for sure for handheld racing games, especially for the era, because it had this nice 3D model around it. The graphics were amazing for the 3DS. Definitely a good game. You can get these cheap if you haven't got it. And this is the last one. These are the adventure games. They ported Resident Evil on this thing. This is probably the scariest game I own, Deadly Silence, and you use the touchscreen on this. It's actually a very good game. There's actually a Metal Gear Solid 3 port on the DS, which I don't own. So they were going for an adult audience. Metroid Hunters, it's a very unique touch game, very, very graphically enhanced third-person shooter adventure game, as you know. And Zelda. Let's have a look at the Zelda games. We've got Phantom Hourglass, which is my favorite handheld Zelda game of all time. I love this game. It stars this dude, Toon Link, and this Captain Jack Sparrow ripoff if you've played the game. And, if you've got Spirit Tracks, he makes another appearance. That's the sequel, but the original Phantom Hourglass. So that's basically the DS in a nutshell. This is basically how big a deal the DS was. This is actually my library of games, which I own. And, it was such a big deal. And the games were so accessible. The system was affordable. They had all the incarnations of it. So how could Nintendo top that with their successor system? Obviously, the only competition they had was the PSP. That's the truth. I mean, did Nintendo really need to make a 3DS? And the answer is yes, because, the way gaming was changing to an online foray, to the cloud, playing online, being able to have download content and whatever, we had to move on to something better. And in 2011, they went and upgraded the DS, and they stuck with the dual screen concept, but they added extra features. And that's what they did with the launch of the Nintendo 3DS and its various hardware models. So that ends the first chapter. We had a DS that was very successful, but we now have to create a 3DS. So what are we going to do? So this is the next part of the show where we'll talk about you guys and your collections and your DSs. So I'm going to start with Miss Hino, because she's new to the show, and I want to see her Nintendo DS and her Nintendo DS games and what she liked on it. So let's go.
All right.
To you.
Sure. I just want to mention, I saw in the comments earlier, Siebert, he commented Life Signs. It's the other game that I was referring to that's similar to Trauma Center. So it's Life Signs. So thank you to Siebert for that. I can sleep now at night knowing the title of the game. So let's talk about what I have here. So what I have here with me tonight is a mix of some of my games, my brother's games, and my sister's games, because all of us are gamers. And actually, it was my siblings who really got first into the DS during its release. And then it was years later, when I picked up my 3DS XL, it's just when I really started collecting both for the 3DS and the DS. So I have here my sister's, the old original DS, the fat, so it's pretty weathered. I have here my Nintendo DS Lite.
Very nice.
The reason why I went for the Lite version instead of the original one is because, to those who didn't know, here right below is it can actually play Game Boy Advance games. So
Correct. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
this saves me some money from buying a Game Boy, and um, unfortunately the Game Boy Advance has runs on batteries, right? So I would really prefer to have a console that's chargeable, that wouldn't need me to buy it like AAA batteries or whatnot. And lastly, here's my 3DS XL, but I really want to get the new 3DS XL because I'm rather OCD. This is red. It's red here in the front and the back, but when you open it, it's black.
Okay. I know.
So yeah, I'm really stressed out. So let's. I just want to mention here that I actually have more DS games than the 3DS games. So that's actually a testament to what Viraj has mentioned earlier, that the legacy of the original DS was just so immense. That's why it has such a very complex library of games that's available for everyone. So I'm just going to be quick here, especially with the games that was mentioned earlier. So we have here the point and click, visual novel type of game, Hotel Dusk. What's brilliant about this game is that it utilizes the DS function. So normally when we play it like this, but Hotel Dusk, you can play it like this, like a book. So I really wish that Nintendo made more games that utilize this alternate, what they call this, alternate portrait to
rotation.
landscape. Yeah, rotation. I wish we had more games like that because it's very innovative, and plus more gimmicks regarding the touchscreen.
What game was that again?
It's Hotel Dusk.
Room 215. It's a novella.
215. I'm not sure if my video is showing correctly. Is my video flipped or not? But I'm not sure. But yeah. Another DS game, the sequel to Hotel Dusk, The Last Window. Sadly, the company who made this is already, I think they shut down. They have a last game, but it's only digital. Advance Wars, mentioned earlier. Of course, the RPGs, we have their Final Fantasy IV, which is surprisingly more difficult than the 2D counterpart, the pixel counterpart. So this is pretty challenging, even with the first boss. It also has voice acting. This is my brother's Rhythm Haven. My siblings were a big fan of this because it's really wacky, and the tunes, the OST is really addictive. My brothers again, the Settlers, Sims.
Very nice. Yeah.
SimCity, DS.
Yeah. So Joel,
what else?
So Joel would love that.
Yeah.
He loves this simulation.
Ghost Trick, who's gonna have, I think, a remake or a remaster for the Switch. So that's pretty cool.
Right now.
Avalon Code, it's a pretty niche game, I would say. Not everyone knows about it. So here, and then what else? More visual novels. I'm mostly a fan of JRPGs or RPGs and visual novel type of games. So we have here the original investigation game, Jake Hunter. This actually was released way before Phoenix Wright, and I believe maybe this is one of the inspirations for Phoenix Wright. And then, of course, the Phoenix Wright games, just like Mirage, yeah.
They're the best. They're the best.
Yeah, they're amazing. I'm just really glad that people are experiencing it as well for the Switch release.
Yeah, because you got Trinity in one game, yeah.
Yeah, and then mentioned as well earlier, Fire Emblem. I haven't touched this yet, but I'm kind of scared touching the Fire Emblem games because I'm very new into the Fire Emblem series. I went in during Fates and Awakening era, so
Yeah.
I haven't tried the OGs yet, and I heard it has the permadeath and the battle is more brutal. So
Yeah, it's a harder game.
I'm scared, but I'm excited.
It's a harder game.
I'm excited.
It's the hardest Fire Emblem game I've played. So there you go.
Oh shoot! I'll let you guys know how I go about it. So FF3,
Yeah.
I think it was difficult. For Heroes of Light, I think inspiration for Bravely Default.
Okay.
I have here the collector's edition for Bravely Default, the original one, but the box is a very scuffed.
That's a 3DS game, and that
Oh,
was a very
shit.
popular one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was already 3DS. I forgot. Sorry about
That's
that.
fine. But this is a 3DS episode, so we're gonna get there. This is what it's meant to be. So
yeah, we'll get there eventually. Really fast, more RPGs, FF Tactics. Oh, we're also fans of the Harvest Moon or the Story of Season series.
Yeah, so Joe will love that. Yeah.
Suikoden. And I have I think this is pretty rare nowadays. I got it for a really hefty price and it's still sealed, so I don't know if I'm gonna open this or not.
Very good, very good.
I'm contemplating, and of course we have here Golden Sun, also mentioned earlier. I'm almost done here for the DS games. Of course, we have here Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
The English version, but the Japanese version I think has a better cover. Yeah, I have your Japanese game. It's Sola Torobo. There's an English counterpart for this, but the problem is it's very expensive, maybe around $300 to $400. The same as the PS1 game Telltale Concerto. So one of the games that this company makes is very rare because low print. That's why everything's so expensive. Of course, classic. The World Ends With You. It's just a shame that the DS port doesn't have the dual screen. Playing this on dual screen is very challenging but fun. Radiant Historia, another game that got remastered for the 3DS. Valkyrie Profile.
Yeah.
Super hard. This is my first Valkyrie Profile. I haven't played the others yet, but I almost rage quit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Rune Factory series. So we have Rune Factory 1, Rune Factory 2,
good lord,
and Rune Factory 3. 3 is getting remastered. Yeah, the 3 of them. This is going to have a remaster on the Switch, so I hope 1 and 2 would get the same love as well, since I think they're also racking up in price. And lastly, for the DS games is visual novel type. It's $9.99. I think it was on the preview earlier before we started the podcast. The sequel, not Virtuous Last Reward. I forgot the second game was shown in the preview earlier. So, that would be all of our collective DS games here. And yeah, it's such a great console. Wow. And the 3DS, I also love the 3DS, but I just really wish it had more gimmicks besides the 3D screen, the top screen, because
which nobody uses.
We'll get there. We're going to cover the 3DS now because
we're going to intro in the podcast.
Let's do it. And we've got Sir Joel who's joined us.
Objective.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for being late. I had a prior commitment to attend to, but thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of the podcast. The wonderful new people, the wonderful old people are here, and of course, the people in the chats. Thank you very, very much for being here. It's great that we're having this, and I'll let Miss France continue with her showcase, and I'll just show whatever little things I have here afterwards.
Little.
Let's have a look at your 3D wares.
My 3D wares?
Well, I want everyone to show us their 3DSs or what they've got. I want to see that before I bring out my heavy guns here.
Let's
have a look at what. I mean, I know you've got a 2DS, Sir Joel.
Yes, I do.
I want to have a look at that, and I want to know why you bought why did you buy a 2DS instead of a 3DS?
Well, I love my 2DS because of the fact that it is built like a tank. Look at that thing. I don't have to worry about the hinge, snapping when it's.
But your screens aren't protected. Your screens aren't
no screen protectors. What the heck are those?
No, look at that.
They didn't have that.
I'm talking about this.
Like,
at least it closes shut like that. Like that.
Yeah, that's
true.
In my case, I carry a pouch around with it. It's one of those what do you call that? It's like a case, a pouch like case with a
neoprene case.
Neoprene case. That's exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but thanks for helping my old memory, jogging my memory there. But yeah, it's the nice thing about the 2DS is that it might not have protection for the screen, but it is built like a tank. I don't have to worry about the hinge snapping or breaking or things like that.
Mm.
And no 3D function, like Joe says. The no 3D function because it hurts my eyes.
Oh, bless you.
I'm terrible when it comes to looking at 3D. I during the 3D TV era when everybody was buying 3D TVs, I was absolutely against the whole thing because number one, it was way expensive, and number two, like looking at it, I felt like throwing up. So again, it does have certain games that has advantages when you're using 3D, but I find that's about 15% overall or 20% of games that actually have a good advantage to having 3D running. So, um, long battery life, long battery lives, durable. Like it can handle almost anything that the 3DS can run, and I don't have to worry about it when my kid during the time she was 4 or 5 years old
Yes.
wanted to play around with it. She could borrow it. She could play her Nintendogs, scream at the dog that wouldn't listen to her, and just have a good time with it as long
Yeah.
as I don't have to worry about the little things. So I saw earlier that Miss France was actually doing her showcase of software. Let me just bring out what I've got here. Oh,
Yeah. Let's have a look.
have you guys done your 3D hardware showcases yet? No.
Not
Yeah, I
Not.
showed. So, lady, Hino's done it. I showed her
Mm.
3DSs. I want you to show us what you have.
Oh, okay. But ladies first. We'll let we'll let
I
we'll
think,
let
I
Miss
think
France go ahead
No, no,
first.
no. Go ahead. I'm actually done. By the time you came in the podcast, I actually just finished. So go ahead.
All right.
Thanks.
And a little shout out to Greg Norris here. He did mention in our chats in Timeless Gamer that he hasn't really gotten into the 2DS and 3DS part. This is going to be his
Um,
shall we
I
say. Mhm.
initiation.
I
Yes.
used I used to own I used to own the 2DS, the red
Mm.
one that you had.
Oh, there you go.
But
Excellent.
it was right around that time though. I was getting
Mhm.
older. I was less interested in the handheld market
Mm.
around that time, and I was getting
Mhm.
more into the PC Steam market around that
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
So after a while, I just stopped playing the 3DS altogether and sold it. So
Mm.
so,
But.
I mean, looking back though,
Mhm.
I still found the 3DS, its history, to be pretty fascinating, even though I think
Mhm.
it's honestly the lesser of the handheld consoles that isn't the Virtual Boy anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, you could call a Virtual Boy a handheld if you duct tape it to your head, but I digress. So, but no, the Game Boy Advance, as I said, is my favorite of the Nintendo handhelds, and the DS is a close second. And the 3DS, even though there's a lot of great games I never had a chance to play, I couldn't afford them at the time. I was strapped for cash,
Mhm.
so uh, but but other than that, I just wasn't into it as much as I was with the other Nintendo handhelds
Mm.
beforehand, even though its history from its rough launch, right around when the 3D craze was all the rage, and movies like James Cameron's Avatar made that happen. Like everybody who was looking at the 3DS like some sort of cheap gimmick, like that's going to be the main focus of the console itself. That's why it had such a rough launch, even though there was a decent launch of games around that time, but it did gradually pick up steam when more and more great games came out on it. And
And you
Yes.
so
have to, and Greg, you should also take note because you love indie games. The 3DS market had a lot of really good indie games in it
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But again, I couldn't afford a whole bunch of them at the time.
Yeah.
I did
Well,
play one indie game on the 3DS, and that was Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. That was the
Oh,
one.
that quality one. Yeah, quality
Yeah,
game. Hmm.
yeah, very very qual. I consider it the best in the Shantae series, even though
yeah.
in that game she the
Hmm.
the, the main character Shantae didn't have her half genie powers, which is ironic since that was always like a central focus of the series.
Hmm.
But even but practical gameplay, the Metroidvania aspect, more than made up for it. Like more
Mm.
so than any other game that came before and after it. Like the
Hmm.
first two Shantaes, were fine. They were cult classics in themselves. People didn't play them as much, and Half Genie Hero was a different beast altogether.
Hmm.
But it was still a good game. And Seven Sirens tried to return back to its Metroidvania roots, though it still didn't match the quality that Pirate's Curse had. It was still a fine game. So
Okay. Well, the Shantae series has basically broken into the big leagues now because they're having big productions on the Nintendo Switch. But
yeah,
we can have a quick look at their we can look at their look back at their origins in the 3DS market and in the PS Vita market, if I remember correctly. All right. So as Viraj has mentioned, I should have a look at what I have here in terms of hardware. Again, Miss France, if you are done with your side, because I'm more than willing to concede my time, so
It's
that Miss France can showcase what else she has. But yeah, if she's done, then I can show what I've got.
mm.
All right, Miss Hino. Sorry. Yeah, I had it. I'm a little. I still have to learn all the Japanese inclined names, so things like that. But yes.
I thought she was
All right.
Filipino though.
So, sorry. What was that, Greg?
I thought she was Filipino though.
Oh, she is. Yeah. But we all have kind of in Asia we have kind of an intermixing of cultures. We love that about different cultures. We love to
Okay.
imbibe everybody else's cultures with us. So all right, getting back. Uh,
Well,
um,
I'll be happy to go through the 3DS library that I have since I haven't even touched my 3DS stuff
well,
yet. So we can do
here,
that.
I might as well show off what I've got
Go
before
for it.
because
Go for it.
I'm the latecomer here.
Go for it.
Viraj did mention the 2DS is what I had, but my 3DS is the one that I carry around like for if I really really need to have a the 3D function running. So it's the Luigi, the Year of Luigi version here with Mario and Luigi Silver on the cover. The thing about it is when I started collecting 2DS and 3DS hardware, I resolved to have a theme when it comes to the hardware that I collect. I love the colors gold and silver. Those are my two absolute most favorite colors, gold and silver. And whenever a gold and silver piece of hardware comes out, gold or silver colored or themed, I always try my best to get it. So one of them, well, and that was the very first one. I got two of the Year of Luigi versions, one to play and one to keep. So that's the Mario and Luigi Dream Team 3DS XL version that I have. The light is terrible. Let me just angle that a little bit so you guys can see the Mario and
Very
Luigi
nice.
Dream Team version, and it has the game Mario and Luigi Dream Team packed in with it. So that's a good value. I got that one. Next one I got was something that Mr. Bel Valenzuela, our leader in what you call this in Pinoy Retro Gaming would like. It's the Super Mario Brothers 2 Gold Edition 3DS XL.
Oh,
Mm.
So I got that one. This one was selling at Walmart. I'm not sure if it was an exclusive one, but it's something that they really touted or marketed as part of their Walmart marketing. So it's
Mm.
got Super Mario Brothers 2 included pre-installed, new Super Mario Brothers 2 Gold Edition pre-installed in it. So again, it's got that gold finish here, along with the gold Mario finish, along with the red casing. That's my next one. Another one. I am not a Legend of Zelda fan per se. I recognize how big Legend of Zelda is for everybody, but I never really got into it. I don't know why. But the moment that the Nintendo 3DS XL came out with the gold version of Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds version of the
Mm.
3DS,
Very nice.
I just had to have it. So gold and silver is the theme for me. So the moment that we
Yes.
come out with anything gold or silver, I have to save up
Yeah.
money and get it. So it
Mm.
includes the Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds as a digital pack in game. So I may never play Legend of Zelda, but at least I have the console to to go with it. And
Well,
all right, so let's
I,
see. Moving on. Sorry, somebody had a question.
well, no, I
No,
was about to
but
say, well, Link Between Worlds is a good
Mhm.
starting point on the
I
3DS.
I should. I mean,
Considering everyone considers A Link to the Past from the Super NES as a universal favorite,
mhm,
almost top tier,
mhm.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Link Between Worlds was essentially the evolution of that formula by adding new neat spins and just
Mhm.
making exploring the world just a lot more fun and accessible. And so
It,
it's an
it,
easier game, but it is a
mm.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, call it the turn-based snob in me that I like turn-based games so much more than action RPGs. I mean,
you just
with
want.
all respect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We know you wanted it because it was gold. That's what it was.
Yes,
You saw the
Right.
gold.
absolutely. Plain and
It's
simple. It
gold.
was it was the
Like gold
fact that it
member.
was gold.
Yeah.
And another thing, yeah, it shows you that the gold, the colors gold and silver are basically the things that draw me in, which actually plays into the next one that I have, the 3DS XL. I know it's crazy. It's the Mickey Mouse. It's the Disney's Magical World version
Mm,
of the 3DS XL. It's white with Mickey Mouse gold inlays. It doesn't even
mm,
have a game packed in with it. It's just the
But,
fact that it's
but that looks so
it,
nice,
it
white and
does. I have to
gold.
admit. I have to admit. It's a white and gold. The theme
mm,
is again. I like how Nintendo has good taste when it comes to coloration of its consoles. It's very good when it comes to mixing and matching the colors. I wonder if there's a way for me to just show this a little bit better.
yeah,
There
we
you
can
go.
see it. It's nice
Yeah,
now.
I
there you go.
like gold.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
like
I'm a gold
gold.
member. Absolutely.
I like
You nailed it right
gold.
there. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. I love gold. There you go. So that
Mm,
is the Mickey Mouse 3DS XL
very nice. Very nice.
edition, white with gold filigree. I guess that's the right term for it. Um, Hopping on to the other 2DS, just in case it bogs down, the 2DS
Very nice.
XL
Yeah.
with Mario Kart
Oh,
7
you got
inside of it.
the
I
new
think
2DS
I think
The
that
XL,
new
was the pack I
2DS.
got.
and
If
it
I remember
That's
flips.
correctly,
it.
that was a pack that I
Mhm.
got when I got the 2DS. I got
Oh,
it
that's
with
it.
Mario Kart 7.
Well, there you go. That's
I
exactly it.
can't remember. Actually, no, I can't remember if it was the whole pack itself or I bought them separately.
Could
It
be.
was a long time ago.
Could be.
Um, but yeah, that was a solid entry in the series.
Hmm
Even if it's not all that fun, even the Mario Kart series are not all that fun by yourself. You know, it's
hmm
better with multiplayer.
Oh,
That was
absolutely.
kind
Yeah.
of
hmm
that was kind of a turning point away, turning away for me, so to speak.
hmm hmm
Mm.
Viraj, you were about to say something.
No, no. If Mario Kart 7 was an
Mm.
Olympic sport,
Mm.
I'd be probably getting a gold medal because I'm great at that game.
Oh.
I love that game when it came. And the Olympics came out was happening in London in 2012, if you remember. And
Oh
I
yeah. Yeah.
remember
Mm-mm.
I worked by the Olympic Park, and I have very fond memories playing that game and beating everybody at it. So it's a lot of fun. And I tell you, I'm very good at that game, and that's my favorite Mario Kart. Actually, I love the way the 3D worked on it. Obviously, you played it in 2D, but the 3D on that was
Mm.
outstanding. So yeah, very great game. I love that. I love Mario Kart 7. It's my favorite handheld Mario Kart.
Well, when the new 3DS came out, that's when I broke my streak. The new
Mm.
3DS really wasn't coming out with a lot of gold and silver themed ones, so I just went for whatever was on sale, whatever was cheap, whatever was available. I went for the. I think I showed this to the audience once before. It's the
Pikachu
Pikachu Yellow
edition.
edition of the new 3DS XL with Pikachu like a shadowy figure in the background. Not very prominent, but at least you can make him out there. I still have to crack that open. Actually, I have to crack open a lot of these things.
Wow.
And the very last one is when Toys R Us went out of business. They clearanced out everything. Like we're talking like all of their hardware, all of their software, everything they were selling for fire sale prices. Normally, I don't even remember how much the new 3DS XL was selling for here in the US at that time. I got this for really cheap. I think I got this for $80. This is the new Galaxy style
Oh
uh,
wow, wow, it's
Nintendo
beautiful.
3DS XL. The trick to getting cheap hardware is looking for stores that are closing. I know it's a sad, it's a sad reality. It's a sad
Dark,
reality of
grim.
life, but it's very dark. It's very grim, like Raj says. But the fact is, if you're looking for a good bargain, look for the places that are desperate to offload their inventory. Walmart was a good place. Toys R Us, while it was closing, was a good place. I got this one, the Galaxy style purple. Sad to say, no gold or silver themed things for the 3DS XL, new 3DS XL. But yeah, those are my machines, the ones that I had the chance to collect as the years went on. Again, I've been collecting for close to 10
You know what,
years.
Joel?
Yes,
I
Miss.
can I can really relate to you when it comes to the theming when for the consoles because I want to keep my consoles all red. So if
Oh,
you,
there
you
you
like
go.
silver and gold, look at my Switch. It's red. I have my Switch
Oh,
here.
I saw it.
The 3DS. Yeah, yeah. I think I shared it with the other local groups here, and
No, the thing
That's
is,
very.
I get you.
the thing is,
It's all about the
everybody,
preference.
yeah, everybody has a theme. Everybody has a preference. In my wife's case, she absolutely loves the color purple. So anything purple, she's really gonna get. She's got her purple DSs. She's got her purple. She's been eyeing this Galaxy 3DS XL for the longest time. I'm absolutely sure that if I turn my head away and I let her know where this purple 3DS XL is, she's probably gonna go steal it sometime. But then again, uh, since we're married, isn't that basically just taking one money from one pocket and putting it into the other?
Hey, in marriage? I always thought what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, right?
Precisely, exactly. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
how it works out in married life. So yeah, again,
Holy
we all have our
matrimony, yeah.
themes. Yeah, we all have our themes. We all have our preferences. In my case, it's gold and silver. In Miss Hino's case, it is red. So that's the beauty of collecting certain hardware. You can theme whatever your collection is to whatever your personal style is, and that's
Mm,
a wonderful thing. Although some people collect comprehensively, they collect everything that they can lay their hands on, and
mm,
that's fine too. The beautiful thing about collecting and gaming is that every experience is tailor made just for you. Mm.
mm.
Back to Viraj.
Oh, right, fantastic. I
Mhm.
actually thought you only ever had a 2DS. I'm surprised you had all
Well,
this. So I'm glad you could share that. It's
yeah,
amazing.
I guess I
Um,
miscommunicated it.
yeah,
I only almost exclusively play with the 2DS, but
okay, and that's because you don't like
yeah,
the 3D, and I understand that, and that's
yeah,
something we can touch on as well.
yeah,
But yeah, let's talk about the 3DS in a bit more detail. And this is
mm,
obviously this is the launch one. This is actually one I got on release, and
nice.
it was 199 pounds 99 pence on
Mm,
release. It's expensive if you think about it compared to the DS, which was actually 129.99 in the UK.
Yeah.
Obviously, the scale of economy without those prices in mind. Obviously, I know you're from a different region, but the scale of economy stays the same. Obviously,
mm,
this was nearly twice as much as the original. So, I mean, as a proposition to people who have a DS, like, what does this really offer? That's more okay. You got this lovely little slider here that allows you to switch the 3D on and off. Okay, you get about 3 to 5 hours of gaming with the 3D. Obviously, the battery life varies with it being on and off. You got this lovely circle pad now, which the original DS didn't have. So it's actually really good for 3D gaming. That's what they've introduced. And you also got the D-pad as well if you want to play Street Fighter and games like that, which are better with the D-pad. So you have that.
mm,
So, you have this unit. It did have a very lovely finish to it. It's also fully backwards compatible with its predecessor, the DS. Okay, so you can, for those of you watching who don't know, I'm sure you all know now, it's actually backwards compatible.
mm,
And again, with the 3DS, which is this sort of card, it's exactly the same thing. You just have this little nubbin here. Somebody actually recently did a YouTube video where they actually cut this thing off and tried to put it on a DS and see if the game would work.
and did
No, it doesn't work. In case you're wondering, it doesn't work. Okay, so that's basically it. You got this
Mm.
lovely stylus that was metal in the first edition.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of high quality in the first edition build when you paid for it, and also in the box you got this lovely little dock for it. So if you have it by your bedside, you can just slide it in there. Obviously the power lead's in there, goes to your plug socket. It's all there, done. All right, you just charge it and the light turns on. That's it. You also have wireless gaming switch built in and out, so you can play it wireless online. So there's a lot and you got a 2 gigabyte of internal memory via an SD card as well. So you can actually download games on the eShop. So this introduced download and play gaming in terms of, you can download games on the eShop. But instead of buying the game on cartridge, you can actually buy it online and have it downloaded to the unit. But you could also buy the games in physical. So that's where things were going. Okay, playing online and downloading games and having it on the internal memory, just like modern consoles of today. This is very much a modern handheld, which is why it was more expensive. Another feature that I have almost failed, and I've just remembered to remember, is you have a 3D camera on the front. And if you remember, in the box, you actually have AR cards, and you can point the camera at it, and there's little AR games, augmented reality games. So there are a lot of gimmicks that came with it, that were pretty interesting. But I never really got into the whole augmented 3D games.
No, that's another thing that they're really pushing. I guess somehow nowadays, with everybody carrying a cell phone around, augmented reality might become something in the future. But as early as that time, it was a hard sell.
The drawbacks, I'd say, of the first ever 3DS is it is quite cramped. Yeah, I did remember getting my hands getting quite cramped playing Mario Kart 7 with this. So that's actually the drawback. It's not the most comfortable handheld to hold, I will say that. And there was obviously, this is the one Lady Hina has, which is basically the new 3DS they came out following that. A lot bigger screens. Don't have to strain your eyes. The 3D is still the same technology in the 3DS, obviously, but you can always turn it off. But I can understand, like, you made a very important point that Sir Joel made, was he didn't like the 3D. It hurt his eyes, and it was a very tricky 3D technology in there, where you actually had to be dead straight in front of the unit, looking at it. If you move your eyes,
it's gone.
It doesn't follow you. It doesn't follow you. Okay, so you literally have to be dead straight, and it can flicker. It can flicker, and you're absolutely right. Unless you're dead straight, that's the problem that this thing will have.
It's a little hard. Sorry about that, Viraj. It's a little hard. You're already concentrated on the game itself, and you have to concentrate on keeping your eyes dead centers to keep that 3D effect. The moment that you start moving things around, as humans are wont to do, you lose it, and it distracts you, and there's a chance that you might lose your concentration on the game. So that's another thing that really threw it out.
Absolutely. Because you want that seamless experience when playing a game, and that totally ruins your gaming experience when you notice a flicker.
Yeah, Greg was about
Yeah, if I can interject for a little bit too, I need to add. You mentioned the 3DS. It was hard to handle. Your hands cramp up after a while. I think it's an even worse case with the 2DS, because it's like an uneven slice of bread, like an uneven brick, so to speak. Yeah. No offense to Joel.
No, it's fine.
I mean, the cheaper price was what attracted me to buy it. And, I mean, I was willing to forego the 3D aspect of the game. And just play games regularly. But games like Kid Icarus Uprising made playing it on the 2DS more of a chore. I remember it was my brother's game. It was my brother's copy of Kid Icarus that I played, for the record. And even then, trying to hold the whole thing with my left hand and trying to use the stylus to control the character with the
Did you not have a kickstand? Did you not get the kickstand with it? Because the stand that comes in the box.
I really don't like additional gimmicky things, even if just to save my hands. I mean, I could either get some actual grips for my hands or go home. Even to this day, my hands cramp up when I'm holding a handheld system. I work in construction, my hands are really big. I need some kind of grips if I'm going to hold a Nintendo Switch, especially if I'm holding it.
The Switch is very slim. I think a good handheld would be the Steam Deck, because it's nice and chunky. It's for people with big hands, and your hands won't really cramp.
Well, they do make good cheap grip systems too, like this one you can get for $10 just to clip in on the Switch. The thing is, I gotta clip it on and off every time before I put the Switch into the deck. So, I mean, there are good ways to hold the handheld systems out there. It's just a matter of looking and seeing what will fit in your budget.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, to be fair, and they did actually create, like I said, the 3DS XL, which is actually much more comfortable. And
that's the one my brother had.
There. And that's the next one there. Again, the 3D, you have to be dead on, but it's actually a lot more comfortable to look at the 3D screen compared to the original 3DS, because it is a bigger screen. You've got a bigger play area. You have a nice big stylus, a plasticky one, so it's cheaper. One thing I will say about the new 3DS XL And the subsequent 3DSs that were released after the original is they didn't come with the AC adapters in the box. You had to buy them separate, which is a bit annoying because they expected you to be able to buy that since you already have the DS charger. You think you're upgrading. And that's the way they treated the newer 3DSs. They expected you
Really?
to
Was that for all releases from Japan to US and to UK releases?
For the UK,
They didn't have a charger?
They didn't have a charger, no, you have to buy them separate. If you actually look at the boxes, you'll find that they might not necessarily have plugs in them or AC adapters. Some did, some
That's
didn't.
weird.
It depends on the special edition that you had. Like this is my brother's Fire Emblem edition, which I bought for him. This is the Fire Emblem is it Fire Emblem Awakening? Sorry, Fire Emblem Awakening. As you can see, you've got the nice design there. In the box, you're literally getting this and an instruction manual. That's it. I thought, where's the plug? And
That's super weird. Why would they?
That's what Nintendo did. That's what they did. So that's.
I got mine for second hand. That's why I didn't know. So man, that sucks.
Yeah, they probably included it as your purchase for your purchase so that you would have the full experience right off the bat. Okay.
A few years later, they launched this lovely little device, which is the lovely. I shouldn't say little, but the successor, which is the new 3DS XL. This is what they should have come out in the first place in terms of the fact that the 3D is enhanced. It's so much better. It doesn't hurt your eyes. You have no flicker. The 3D follows you if you're playing and you move it just a bit. The 3D is that good at an angle. Okay, so it's actually a much better unit. Yeah, you can turn the 3D off if you don't like it. But this is again a much more powerful processor. I say much more powerful, a slightly more powerful processor. So it's much quicker as well. Remember, the 3D took a while to load when you turn it off, so a few seconds. But this is there. So a much more powerful processor, better 3D, and you also have that C stick. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. You see that little nub there? You have that C stick, and it allowed you to play melee attacks if you're playing Smash Brothers or Metroid Samus Returns. You can do a melee attack by using the C sticks. And there's other games that's probably like, I don't know, Monster Hunter or whatever.
Is it like a second analog stick?
Yes, it's a little nub. Yeah,
is that how it functions?
That's how it functions. In fact, there was actually an add-on. I haven't mentioned it or don't own one yet, but basically what it was is it was actually an add-on. So basically you could clip it on here.
Oh, I remember that one.
There's another circle that actually adds as the C stick. So you could buy that for, I don't know, $20 or $40, I'm guessing. As an add-on, but it was actually basically simulating this extra lovely feature that this unit has. This is actually a really nice device. The battery technology actually was enhanced on the new 3DS line as well, and the XL. So as every unit goes up, you've got like roughly an extra half-hour battery life that's running on it. So they managed to get the battery life extended a bit more with every single incarnation of this. Another thing I really loved about this particular version is you have the game card input here. One thing I really hated on the DS and the 3DS is you're playing and there's a friend of yours and they just push it and they eject the game out while you're playing. Why did you do that for, man? Why did you do that, man? I'm sure it's happened to all of you. That's why you're laughing. Someone's done that. But if you have it on the front, it's nice. Again, you've got a nice long stylus in there.
It's either happened to you or you've done it yourself. So.
No. Anyway, so. This particular one is the Ambassador Edition that was never sold in shops. I managed to be able to buy it off an ambassador who was promoting it in the shop I worked at the time. And I was.
You know what, Raj? Every time you mention the stylus, I suddenly realized that it's just a shame that not all of the games utilize the stylus for the 3DS.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame, but it's a lovely console. This thing. But what can you do?
That's probably my favorite color scheme on the DS right now. I especially love the rainbow colored buttons there. It's like that Pro Control in the Super NES.
Oh yeah, that's
true. In the background,
it does harken back to that a little bit, doesn't it, Greg? Yeah, that's cool.
Eventually, they upgraded that to the new 3DS XL, which is this lovely beast of a machine. This is the best version, right? And this is obviously our PAL Super Nintendo design. Yes. Yeah, this is so much better than the ugly American Super Nintendo. But anyway,
you were saying something,
the
Greg.
Ugly yellow Super Nintendo, I should say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
This particular version, it's lovely. The 3D again is amazing. You've got a big screen. Battery life is long. It's a 10-hour battery life if you play it efficiently. A lovely machine. And you can't really go wrong with it. And one thing I want to mention very quickly, because it's a very obscure fact, the new 3DS XL, which is what this is, the later models came with IPS LED screens. Okay, so you had better technology in terms of battery saving. My friend actually had the Zelda version. Sadly, he couldn't lend it out to me for obvious reasons. the Zelda version actually had the IPS on both screens. Okay, and that's what they were doing towards the end of its life cycle. So people got the last ones of this in the special editions. Did really well. And these are lovely devices. What can I say? I mean, they're beautiful. They're actually really good handhelds. And obviously, I can't mention too much, but you can modify them to do whatever it is you want now, because obviously it's not supported anymore. Not that I'm promoting that or anything. But anyway, but there's so much you can do with these devices. And games for these, collecting for these is quite cheap. There's lots of good games that I actually missed out on that I actually did start to collect afterwards. So without further ado, I'm happy to go through the games that I have for this in chronological order, because as like Lady Hinu said, my DS is vast compared to this, and you'll soon see it. And this is what I had on release. So let's have a look at the games that came out when it came out. Okay, this is I'm gonna laugh at this. Okay, so this was one that really hurt your eyes with the 3D. This is like what they were trying. This is a 2011 release. I bought this with my Nintendo 3DS. Pilot Wing Resorts. Really, an amazing game. An amazing game. The 3D on it is amazing, but it does pull on your eyes.
Not gonna lie, I didn't even know they were making games still for that franchise. I've only played Pilot Wing 64 back when I was a kid, but that was basically it.
It's the third in the franchise. So after this is actually the last one they made. So yeah, but this is probably the best one in my opinion from the three that I played. So you have that. Another one is this lovely little game called Steel Diver, which I bought on release as well. There wasn't that many games. The 3D effect on this doesn't hurt your eyes. It's actually looks beautiful, the ocean effects and the submarine and how you play it. And it's basically a side-scrolling sort of shooting game. I don't want to use the word shoot 'em up, but you are tactically moving that sub to get through the missions. It's actually very quite a challenging game that I'd recommend to play. You get these cheap now.
Yeah, I love submarine games. Okay.
This game is one that you should have for your 3DS. It's a staple to the system. The 3D on it will not hurt your eyes if you do play on 3D. It's actually engineered very well. It's called Mario 3D Land.
I did play half of that one. Even as a Mario fan, I still I ended up putting it down about halfway through. It just wasn't grabbing my attention. I think I can speak for everybody when we say that its sequel, Mario 3D World, on the Wii U and later on the Switch, was indefinitely better.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
One of my top 3 3D Mario games, in fact.
Yeah, it's my
second
3D World is my top 3 as well. Yeah, Mario Odyssey is my favorite, but Mario 3D World is definitely up there.
Mario Galaxy 2 would be my favorites. I think that's just the perfect blend of old and new. I would say.
I'm not going to get into an argument with you on that.
Let's hear what Miss Hino's favorite Mario game is.
Mario game.
Let's hear what Miss Hino's favorite Mario game is.
Is it Mario RPG? Let me guess.
No. The thing is, I'm more into the third-party titles for Nintendo, so I haven't really touched on the first-party, the Marios, the Kirby's, Pokemon. I only played maybe one Pokemon game, and that's for the. Yeah, but I also have a shit ton of backlog, so.
There you go.
That's precisely it. Miss Hino and I are the same on that one. Backlog is life because
aren't we all?
I think we're all in that boat now. We're all in that boat. As the next game I bought, just after release. This is actually really good. It's Street Fighter 4 3D edition. Okay, now this actually played well. It looked amazing. I played it online with my 3DS. I was very good at it, but then I put it down for a month and I played it again after a month, and I got my ass kicked online. So you really have to stay on top of it. But it's a very, very good game. I love this game actually. It's a very good 3D representation. Another really good game, and this one I want to really put this one out there. I've already said that if it was a sport, I'd go for gold, but this one I love.
The one that came back into the 2D.
Like with what Sir Greg said. It is more fun with more players. It is thrilling when you beat someone at this, because it is actually a really, really fun game. The 3D on this is amazing. I like the whole fact that you can paraglide up and do all sorts of things, as you can see on the back of the box. You can parasail, and it involved another dimension of gameplay, and I think it was amazing. And it was actually a precursor to Mario Kart 8, as we know, which is probably the best Mario Kart ever. I don't know if you disagree with me, you're wrong. No, I'm not. I'm just saying, I think Mario Kart 8 is amazing. So you have that. Another game which I love, being a Sega fan, and there are a number of Sonic games on the 3DS, but I think this is like the best Sonic Generations.
Okay.
This is the best one. I mean, I've played all the others, and I played Sonic Lost World and Boom. I thought, okay, they just about passed on the console, but the 3DS release, no, forget it. But Sonic Generations, great game. Great game.
So you now have blast processing for Nintendo game.
Glass processing, 3D processing, the 3D
Yes.
was great, and the sound was great. And these two are really amazing. And as I mentioned earlier, like there was a remaster of Mario 64 on the DS, and they continued with doing that with the 3DS. And these are two great games on the 3DS that you should own. If you haven't played the original N64 ones, Star Fox 64 3D is amazing. You can play that with. You can actually play that with the motion controls on the 3DS, because the 3DS was built in with motion controls, but I didn't find that comfortable. I played with the buttons. The 3D effects in this is outstanding. Turn the 3D on when playing this game. I know you say it hurts your eyes, but give it a go on the new 3DS. Play it, and I promise you will change your mind. Okay?
All right, I'm
It's
definitely
just a
gonna
real
take you up on
shame
that offer.
that
Because
Nintendo
they engineered the 3D in this to actually be really good at by the time this was released towards the end of 2011.
Sorry, Greg, you were about to
there
say
you go.
something.
Yeah, that is the best game in the series. It's just a shame that Nintendo isn't willing to evolve the rail shooter gameplay on it without having to trying to work in some kind of cheap gimmick, especially in the case of Zero for the Wii U.
Well, to be honest, Star Fox has always been a tech demo for all their systems, if you think about it. The Super Effects chip, the original Star Fox, Lilac Wars, or Star Fox 64 and N64 was showing the capacity of N64 and how it plays. And even with the Cube, and they've always used Star Fox as some kind of tech demo, And
but
I do agree with you. They shouldn't overly gimmickise it. They should just make a good game that works.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did like Zero. I did like
Zero.
We have
an indie game, X Zodiac, to look forward to. I mean, that's shaping up to be pretty good.
Okay.
For all its flaws, it was a valiant effort with Star Fox Zero, even though it does have its flaws.
Yeah.
And this is like the best way to play Zelda Ocarina of Time in 3D. The graphics look outstanding in the remaster that Grezzo did on this. It is probably one of my favorite games on the 3DS for sure. And that was the first year. I had my 3DS, and that's all the games that I bought. The following year, I bought this thing, which is the sequel to New Super Mario Brothers.
Played that one.
This is an incredibly easy game, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Incredibly easy, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it's a good cozy platformer, I should say. It's probably one of the cozier Mario games you can just pick up and play. And that and the first one, I would say.
Yeah, it's a game for children, really, isn't it? To be honest, it's very easy. 3+ it says. So yeah, if you want something easy, good for you. This is the one this is actually the box it comes in, Kid Icarus Uprising. So this is the third Kid Icarus game in the series, a sequel that took forever to make. I like the presentation. I like what Project Sora did. I know they took a break from Smash Brothers, but I like this game. Yes, the controls were haphazard, as Sir Greg had implied earlier. I got used to it, and I've beaten this game through and through. I love this game.
Is it short? Is it a short game? I really want to play that and get that edition as well, but people say don't get the expensive version because it's too short.
I think at least it's 10 hours. 10 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours of gameplay.
I got up to I only had like 3 or 4 sessions on that game, and I already remember getting up to the final boss. So yeah, I'd say it's short.
It is a short game, but again, you can level up and do all sorts of things. So it depends on how many hours you're playing. It depends on how good you are. But there's a melee mode, and you get the flying mode as well, like a rail shooter, Space Harrow kind of level that you have there. So you have a variety of gameplay. You have an interesting story. Obviously, there's a bit of voice acting in there where Lady Palutena talks to you, and it's got that sort of Buffy the Vampire style humor if you're into that kind of thing. But anyway, that's what I thought. But I liked it.
I like Kid Icarus from Captain N. So anyway, if anybody remembers Captain N. All right, continue.
We have A Link Between Worlds, which Sir Greg mentioned, and when you showed us your special edition, which has it in there. Now, I bought this because it is a continuation and a spiritual sequel to Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. If you like Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, this is for you. It's again, it's not as difficult as the Super Nintendo one. It's an easier game, but it's still a challenging game. I'd say it's moderate if we're talking challenging Zelda games, and it's definitely, I would say, it's an intermediary.
It's far less cryptic than the SNES successor. In fact, I would say, yeah, because in the Super NES game, there was a part where it's an important MacGuffin you had to get if you want to have it to stand a chance against the final boss, and the game doesn't tell you about it. You
No, it
pretty much
doesn't.
have to go out of your way to see it.
Yeah.
This game pretty much shows you that MacGuffin, tells you, hey, this is where you get it, bring it over, and you'll have a chance.
That's correct. That's correct. The only tricky thing that I found about this particular game was, when you can obviously turn into a portrait and you have to navigate the dungeons that way. That was the only tricky bit, but I got around that, so that's it. Basically.
Well,
the final boss,
the final boss caught me off guard. I was expecting a more challenging fight. I remember, especially that third part where you have to shoot a golden arrow to Ganon the third time. You did it in this. You did this in the round spinning wall. Like, I thought you had to basically shoot the arrow and then face Ganon and try to distract him, but no, you just shoot the arrow. It just goes around. It could go in a cut scene and then it kills him. I was like, oh, that's it. That was disappointing. Yeah, it was pretty much the most disappointing part of the game, but the rest of the package made up for it. I'd still say it's an excellent Zelda game.
Yeah, it's still very good. Going forward in 2014, so that was the only game I bought in 2013. That's how much it occupied my time. And like you made a very interesting point, Sir Greg, about what was happening when the 3DS came out 2011, and you made a point about money, and obviously we had a recession with the banking crisis and everything, and everyone's affected. And
it wasn't just that. Everybody just wasn't interested in the 3D aspect. Like, they thought Nintendo was going full speed ahead on that stupid gimmick.
I don't think it was a stupid gimmick at all, personally. I totally disagree with you. I don't think everybody did. I think 75 million people bought this thing. So it's not everybody.
Well, no. I mean, it wasn't selling all that well when it first came out. That was the thing. It wasn't until more and more excellent games came out that everybody was saying, oh, okay, Nintendo is putting out quality products. Okay, I'm getting this. So and it led to that big rise, for a while, at least until the Nintendo Switch came out, and then it had this, steady decline until it was based that era was particularly like a merging process. Everybody was seeing the value of the Switch in its hybrid quality, like a handheld or a console.
Yeah, that's when Nintendo pulled their resources and changed their structure altogether.
As I said, the 3DS, its history I find much more fascinating than any Nintendo handheld. I should say. Even though I wasn't able to play as many games on it as previous Nintendo handhelds.
So, it is what it is. But anyway, this is the next game. 2014 comes. This game comes out.
Right.
I did
Who
play
had
that
this
one.
game? So the problem this game had, right? You're going to laugh at this. I do remember, yeah. The problem is so many of these came flying off. It was just not built for it.
That never happened to me. Okay, that never happened to me.
The Circle Pass came flying off. And in all fairness, this game, and you'll see it actually, they were actually promoting the 2DS as well. So as you can see here, also compatible with 2DS, because by that time the 2DS had come out. They wanted to promote to a 2D audience because there were a number of controversies with the 3DS. Obviously, it was more of an expensive proposition. It was a 3D gimmick. Not everyone was buying into it, as you said, Sir Greg. And also, the fact of the matter is they were worried about the 3D damaging people's eyes and it hurt people's eyes. And the 2DS was actually something that Nintendo did to sort of look back at, okay, maybe it's not for everyone. We'll do a 2DS as well for younger people and parents that are concerned about children with the 3D. And that's what happened in 2014 around that time. And this was actually a very good game for what it was. It was over-engineered, very well made, a little bit late. It could have come out close to release, but I'm glad this came out. So there's that. But then towards that point, there wasn't really anything. There's a couple of titles I managed to get, and they were just freebies that came in a package. And you got stuff like this, like the Avengers, and Lego, and you have stuff like Codename Steam that came out, which are fun. And then you have like this sort of thing came out as well with that I got special edition because I started playing less. And Metroid Samus Returns is actually my favorite.
Yeah.
And even though the 3D in itself is nice, it enhances the backgrounds and it makes the translucent nature of it. And it is actually the perfect remake of Metroid 2. There is actually another Metroid 2 remake, but that's a fan game, which we can't really talk about too much.
Yeah.
But I love this version. I love the special, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not played this, but there are some nice extra features in this game, some extras they've added to this game. But this is the ultimate version of Metroid 2. This special edition came with some nice extra features in the box, such as a soundtrack CD, a keychain, a pin, an art book, a metal case, and these are some nice things that I used to start collecting. I started to collect like more of these special editions, and I eventually got Majora's Mask in 3D as well. People did say that this was a broken game because Grezzo didn't handle the 3D port of this as well as they did with the Zelda Ocarina of Time. I can understand where it's a bit fuzzy, but it doesn't damage the gameplay. It's still a great game for the 3DS. I would still say that.
I seriously hope they can bring those Zelda remakes from the 3DS onto the Switch. Just saying
I
this
agree.
now.
I mean, Kid Icarus Uprising is a beautiful game.
Yes, that too.
That should be put on the Switch because not many people played it on the 3DS. So I think it's such a shame that the 3DS sold half as much as the DS did. It sold 75 million units, and that's not nothing to be sniffed at. That's still a large quantity of 3DSs. But how many of these particular games sold to that 75 million audience? How many people got to experience it? And as you mentioned, the controls are finicky with that particular game. And again, it would be nice to see some remasters. I personally,
we're in an era of remasters and remakes, so who knows, right?
This is actually the last game I bought for the 3DS. This came out in 2018.
Don't forget fan remakes.
So this is it. I mean, it's not even 3D. Okay, actually, it's only 2D purely for the 3DS. So yeah, and that's actually the best WarioWare. It's so addictive, but there was no 3D, and it didn't need to be 3D to be honest. So I can understand why Nintendo did that. So, in all fairness, there wasn't if you looked at I showed you my DS stuff at the start of the video. You look at my 3DS library. It was just there wasn't too much of a continuation of those awesome RPGs or those awesome. There were new IPs on the 3DS launch, but they sort of got overlooked. People really wanted to focus on the Mario Karts, the Smash Brothers, the IPs that they were comfortable with. I would think people want to look at something familiar, but
that's what they did with the Wii U too.
Yes.
And you know how that turned out.
Yeah.
I love the Wii U personally. I think it's an underrated system. It's just a shame that it didn't get the support it had, but that's another episode altogether.
Yeah.
But I think the 3DS, it was a great concept, and it did offer a lot of things, and I think a lot of people still love it because there were some great games on it today. It was like the deluxe version of the DS, but what does it really offer apart from the 3D? And slightly better colorful graphics? That's really the question, guys. What gameplay innovations does it really offer from the DS? And I think that's where it really struggled. Yeah, it had online play, which is great. But when you're playing on the go, are you really going to use the online features? That's what handheld is. You're using it to commute. Where's the Wi-Fi?
It has Street Pass.
Oh, there's that. Yeah. No, Street Pass.
I wish the Switch had the Street Pass. I miss the Street Pass.
The Street Pass was actually a very good feature because I turned it on during the New York Comic Con. I think that was about 3 or 4 years ago, and everywhere I went, everybody's was it more than 3 or 4 years ago because the 3DS was already on the way down during that time. In one of the New York Comic Cons I went into in Javits Center, I had the Street Pass on, and everywhere I went, new Miis would pop up and join my character in the 3DS. I would be harvesting new characters as they went. Just turn it on, go to one of those events. It was a great experience meeting all these new people in New York Comic Con through their Street Pass Miis. And Miss Hino's absolutely right that hopefully they integrate something like that again in the near future with the Switch because it's a great feature. The socialization aspect is tremendous, really.
Mm-hmm. It was really good. I remember going to the Nintendo Symphony Orchestra, the 25th anniversary, and I went there, and everybody had their Nintendo. I took a picture of people, and everybody had their Nintendo 3DSs out there. And my Street Pass was going on everywhere. There's so many people. My 3DS. What's going on here? This was back in 2012.
Yeah,
and
2012.
And Zelda Ann Williams was there. Robin Williams' daughter.
Two events. I now that you reminded me, Viraj, it was New York Comic Con. Yeah, that was way before 4 years ago. It was around 2012. And the other event was Video Games Live. If anybody's familiar with the Video Games Live Symphony Orchestra event, that's where they perform all of these amazing video game soundtracks like the Tetris theme, Super Mario theme, as an orchestral rendition. And if they performed the God of War theme, and it was like the whole what's the right word for it? The whole stadium was really reverberating with the God of War theme. It's amazing when you hear video game themes performed in orchestral renditions. It really it's a completely different experience. If you guys want, you can check out Video Games Live, the soundtrack. It's on YouTube. You guys are gonna enjoy it. But there, when I brought my 3DS and Street Pass was on, everybody's Mii's were also congregating, and you were collecting Mii's left and right. So it was fun. It was a good
And
experience
Yeah.
too. Yes, Miss Hina.
another fun thing about the Street Pass is that you can see what people are playing during that time. So it's
Precisely.
really perfect for the Switch right now, so that many people are playing this and that and this and that. It's such a missed opportunity.
And if I
Hopefully in the
happen to have
future.
that game, I'll have a lot more people to play with because these people, obviously on the Mii's, are showing that they're playing that game. So
Yeah.
it's a missed opportunity. Yeah. Yes, Greg, you're about to say.
Yeah. Since we're on the subject of what features the 3DS had to offer, I think one
Mm.
particular underrated feature. I don't know if anybody can vouch for me on this, and I figured I need to bring it up because this was something the 3DS had over the DS too, in that it had a
Mm.
better use of polygons. Basically, it could support 3D games better. And
Mm.
because when you look back at the DS, the only notable 3D game you could ever play was Super Mario 64 DS.
Mm.
I love that part of the game. I loved what they did with it, adding more content, more
Yeah,
characters to play. I did
yeah.
play a considerable amount of it, but I don't remember if I beat it. But what held it I remembered what held it back was the only thing that held it back was the D-pad and the run button feature that had to compensate for the lack of a control stick.
Mm.
And but no, it was funny. That seemed to be the only notable 3D game you could play on that system. I think it was the rest of it was 2D. I think it was Nintendo trying to say, "Hey, everybody, the DS can play 3D games now. We can develop for that system." And then
Mm.
after that, it was like dead silence. It was
Um,
2D pixel games just with the two. Although there were 2.5D games like Sonic Rush and such, but that was as far as it went. And then when the
disagree with.
3DS came along, it was like,
Mm,
okay, this time for sure, we can do 3D games, you know?
I have to disagree with you on that because what was Metroid Prime Hunters? What was Mario Kart DS? They're 3D
Yeah,
games. What was Rayman DS? Rayman DS
it was a few.
3D.
What I'm saying is, it was a
Mhm.
few. It was only a few games on the DS that truly did support 3D gameplay. Is what I was trying to
Okay.
say. And then there was
Mm.
Okay.
a greater deal. There was a greater catalog of 3DS games that
Mm.
supported 3D gaming than. I mean, aside from the 3D scoping feature.
So Greg's point is
Okay.
that the 2DS had a lot of and the 2DS sorry, the
The
regular
original
DS had
DS.
the original DS had a lot of 3D rendition games, but not too many that factored 3D gaming in the
Yes.
3D aspect into the gaming
In
portion,
terms of an
Yes. Yes.
environment.
which is
Mm.
yeah, it's a
Fair
fair
point.
assessment, really.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. There
Yeah,
you
it was
go.
Mm.
the 3DS was just a more powerful handheld than the
Mhm.
DS. Even though I would say the DS had a stronger library of games than the 3DS did, despite the fantastic, well received
Mm.
remakes of
Mhm.
classic games the 3DS had.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, there
Yeah.
you
I
go.
agree with you. It's just one of those things. Let's talk about our favorite games briefly
Mm.
because I'm conscious for time.
Okay.
Because we've actually skipped to the last point, which is why was one more successful than the other before we got
Aha.
to our favorite games. So we've
Okay.
done things in the wrong order, but that's not a bad thing. Let's talk about the good. This is the fun part, which is what are your favorite games. Let's start with Lady Hunu and what your favorite game or games on the 3DS was
Yeah.
and why you like it.
3DS, wait, I have it here. So I
Okay.
mentioned it earlier.
Oh, Bravely
Bravely
Default.
Default.
Nice.
And I actually got the Japanese collector's edition. It's so big, it's not gonna fit.
Okay.
It won't even fit on the screen.
Yeah.
But the
Wow.
reason why I got this Japanese version is because it had the little figurine of one of the
Oh,
characters,
mm-mm.
and the US release collector's edition didn't have that. So I had to go to Yahoo Auctions Japan. I'll look for a second hand or for a good deal. And what
We're so
else?
shortchanged here in the West for bonuses, wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Greg,
Mm.
Viraj. we're all so shortchanged for the little statues, for the little bonus items and things like that.
Actually, we get a lot of that here in Europe, but we pay more money for
Okay,
it.
well then I
Oh.
guess it's just me here in the US then
But
get
we
screwed
do
over.
In
pay.
the
To be
US.
honest, we do pay a lot more for video games here. You pay because games are more expensive here in Europe because of tax and whatever. So what developers do is they try to make special editions to make it that the game
They
is worth
offset
that money
it
for us
using
in
the
Europe.
differences. So it's
So
just me and Greg who are screwed over then. Okay, me
What
and
are you
Greg.
talking about? We're screwed over because we pay more for our games. You get cheap games. You're lucky.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go.
All right, Miss Hino. What was the other one you did mention?
I have Kingdom Hearts
Oh,
3D.
nice.
It has the AR card
That's good,
function.
yeah.
A bit challenging, too gimmicky for my taste, but story is okay. And then I did mention earlier that
That Fire Emblem Fates?
I only got into Fire Emblem during the 3DS era, so this one and one of my holy grails,
Fates, I was going to say
the
Fates. Yeah.
the limited edition of Fates. I remember going on sick leave on work. I said I was sick, but I actually went to the mall and lined up since they're only selling limited number of copies of this. So that's
Well,
how
who
I got
hasn't
into Fire
who
Emblem.
hasn't done that, right? Calling sick and either in work or school, and we've got
Yeah,
something to do.
exactly.
Great.
We have a little cute crossover.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that
The Layton series and the Ace Attorney series. I hope we can get maybe a sequel or another spin-off like this. And
yeah.
what else? Of course, I haven't really started with the Dragon Quest games, but I told myself if I was gonna play Dragon Quest, I'm gonna start with 8 because I really am curious
heard
about
that
8.
one's a good accessible entry to get into. That and
It
11
is.
are
Yeah,
great
yeah.
accessible games.
Yeah.
I do have a story about this. I bought this in 2011, and then I just checked if the cart was working. So fast forward to 2023. I'm sorry, I bought this 2021. Fast forward to this year, I was supposed to play this. When I inserted the cart, I said, why am I seeing Dragon Quest 7 instead of 8 on the logo? I was like, holy shit. The seller sent me the wrong cart. I was too busy concentrating on whether the cart is working or not to notice that it's DQ7, not DQ8. Fortunately, I came in contact again with the seller, and he sent me the DQ8 card. So I have it here, and he didn't ask for the 7 back. So I have one free card. Imagine that's after 2 years, and he
never
didn't
asked
charge
the other
me.
cartridge back.
Yeah.
No,
Faith in humanity restored.
Yeah, and that is called great customer service.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay.
yeah.
Free game out of it, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, another cute game, Fantasy Life. I'm
Heard
really
of that.
glad we're having maybe a sequel. I'm not really sure if it's a sequel, but a new game for the Switch. So it's a very comfy game that you can play with friends and family. It's like an RPG or maybe Dungeons and Dragons. So many classes. You get to fight monsters. You get to choose your jobs. So yeah, I guess that's for me. Since the rest are just more of the casual. Lastly, Lego City. I love Lego games, and this is so fun. This is so addictive. I think it was released on a different console for the Nintendo previously, and then they ported it to the 3DS.
Was it by Telltale Games or was it another studio? That one in particular.
No, it was a different studio. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
The thing with the. I was asking
TT Games. Maybe you're right.
Oh yeah. The thing with the
Games
Telltale
London.
Lego games is that they always have a Python-like sense of humor. So if you're playing a particular franchise Lego game like Star Wars or Indiana Jones, you're in for a few good giggles here and there. I mean, I've heard good things about them. I haven't played them for myself. I might have had a few on Steam.
Super fun. It's like a kid-friendly Grand Theft Auto, just set in the Lego world.
So those were your favorite games then, yes? Quite an interesting array you have. They're different to mine, but that's pretty good. What about you, Sir Greg? What are your favorite games on the 3DS when you had it, or your 2DS when you had it?
Yeah, I would have to go with 3 off the bat. I would have to go with Kid Icarus Uprising, which despite the control scheme that I was forced to work with, it's still a fantastic game. It's got a lot of great humor. It's quite a visual spectacle for its time on the 3DS, and it's just all around fun rail shooter gameplay with a lot of laughs. And so I seriously hope that game will get a port on the Switch at some point.
I agree.
That one, second one would be Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. I although I don't really think that would really count, but that was where I got it from the eShop at the time. Rest in peace, eShop. And it's just a excellent Metroidvania all around. Despite being deviant of its formula, not the most deviant, I should say. But yeah, and the third one, I would still say Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I think that's my top pick if you ever get a Nintendo 3DS, because it is a great game, a great enhancement of the formula it was working off of, a fun game to explore. Anybody can get into the Zelda franchise so easily with that one. So after you play that one too, I recommend playing A Link to the Past right afterwards to see how exactly did the 3DS successor evolve the formula, because it did so in a lot of ways that like more ways than you would imagine Nintendo would do. And so massive kudos, and I hope that these Zelda games on the 3DS, this one and its 2 remakes, N64 remakes, will get future ports on the Nintendo Switch. Here's hoping.
That's very, very good. Very interesting collection you got there. I noticed Sir Siebert mentioned in the comment. Nobody mentioned Castlevania on the 3DS yet. I'll mention it now. It's called Lords of Shadow Mirror Fate. Okay, I've played that game. I didn't enjoy it because it broke the sort of Metroidvania style of game, which I really like. It was a different game. It's part of the Lords and Shadows series. As we know, Lords of Shadow was a PS3 game. I think that's the middle in the saga, because there's Lords of Shadow 2. This is set in the middle of those two. And I just didn't enjoy that style of game. I think there was a Batman Arkham game that was also in that style as well, which I didn't like. But hey.
If we're on the subject of Seabird, I better bring this up too. There's a certain franchise we're all skipping here on the 3DS, and that's Kirby. I mean,
Kirby,
I've heard there are some really good games that came out on the 3DS with Planet Robobot and Triple Deluxe, if I remember right. And just recently, we got a remake of a Kirby Wii game on the Switch. So, hoping those 2 games on the 3DS get ported over to the Switch too. I mean, if it can happen with the Wii Kirby game, then it most likely can happen with the 3DS game. I am just now getting into the Kirby franchise after playing Forgotten Land, which is an excellent platformer.
Very, very nice addition there. I mean, Kirby is like something on the back of my mind. It's not exactly a series that's my go-to, but I can understand there's so many people who love Kirby. It's one of Nintendo's 6 main pillars of solid, as a franchise of theirs. It's their IP that people love. So, very, very good mention there. What about yourself, Sir Joel? What's your top 3 for your Nintendo DS, or your top 3 games that you enjoyed?
All right. I guess. Well, you actually put me in quite a spot, Viraj, because I had to go. No, not really an issue. I had to go downstairs to the basement to haul my entire
Holy shit!
collection right there.
More than me.
There you go.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Mr. Handheld Meister.
Holy shit!
Silent but deadly, man.
What can I say?
Man, I want to see all of those.
A lot of stuff here, like something for JDM, the Metal Gear Solid
3D,
Snake Eater.
So much for going to overtime.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
There we go.
And
We'll allow it. We will allow it.
Another problem with me getting old is that you tend to buy the same game twice sometimes.
Oh my
God!
Wow.
It's like
you forgot you had the game. Oh gosh.
or
check
No, that's fine, because Sir Joel was the seller to
like
miss.
that. And of course, games that have come out on the Switch recently that originally came on 3DS. I should turn this off. I should turn off the light for a moment. The Rune Factory series, things like that. So it's you put me on quite a spot actually, Viraj, because of the fact that the criterion is our favorite 3DS games. in my case, it's sad to say that the one 3DS game that I really, really wish that I had on physical, but I cannot for the life of me find here in the United States, is a game called Rhythm Heaven Megamix, or in Europe it's called Rhythm Paradise Megamix, and it's like the compilation of a lot of the very best of the Rhythm Heaven series. And I was only ever able to get it on 3DS digitally here in the United States. They never came out with a physical cartridge. It's a mix of mini games where you kind of progress every single stage, trying to do all of these fun activities that you really have. There you go, Miss
Oh,
Hino
so
is
it's like
showing her DS version of it.
so this
But
is
yes,
basically like WarioWare,
yes,
basically.
it's a lot like WarioWare, except for the fact that the concentration on this is really the variety of different kinds of mini games that you get into. Your mission is to get this one guy who fell down from the heaven realm back to heaven by beating all of these little rhythm games that will allow him to progress little by little, going back up to the heaven realm. And it gets harder and harder and harder, but the music is addictive. The action is tons of fun. There are even times when I just put on when I go to YouTube and just run the soundtrack of certain games, this one being one of them, Rhythm Heaven Megamix, or Katamari Damacy, which
Yeah.
does show up on PlayStations. The other series that I can say would be my favorites would probably be, this one is a little special to me because this is one of the up and comers that came up that tried to take on Pokemon, but never really got traction here in the United States. I hear it's actually pretty big in Japan, but not here in the West. It's called the Yokai Watch series. There
Yeah.
you go. If Joe can bring it up to the center, the Yokai Watch series, Watch 1, 2. There you go, Yokai Watch 2,
Those
and
are pretty expensive now.
it's gotten to the point that
The
these are
original
so
Yokai
rare.
Watch
Yeah,
games.
Pokemon clone series.
yeah. Sorry, what was that? What was that, Greg?
I'm trying to remember. Was that a Pokemon clone series that wasn't
Yes,
Digimon?
precisely. It tried to
Okay.
take on the Pokemon. It's like a monster
I mean, I've heard
collection
about the
thing.
series.
Mm-mm.
The only thing I've heard about it actually was the anime spin-off, but
Yes,
that was basically it.
the anime, and then the final one is Yokai Watch 3, which interestingly enough, I had to check on eBay, and this is going for about $500 now. So what can I say? $500 for something like this. I just got this off of somebody who got
It's even
tired
made
of
by
it.
Level 5. That really looks good. Level
Mhm.
5 makes such cute games.
Yeah,
Level 5 is a
yeah. Nino
quality
Kuni
developer.
is quite a spectacle.
Yes, Nino Kuni. Great reference, Greg. Nino Kuni. And this is something that Viraj would probably appreciate, though. This one is the Sega 3D Classics Collection. I know Viraj is a huge Sega
It's,
guy. I got this for
very
one
good.
game in particular, Galaxy Force 2. I have
Galaxy Force 2.
excellent
Okay.
memories of Galaxy Force 2
That's the
when
best
going
version.
into the Glicos arcade here in the Philippines, sitting in that giant ass arcade machine that actually simulated you sitting down in a spaceship and kind of moving around and everything along with the game itself. So this one has that Galaxy Force
Which
2.
edition is that? Can I have a look at the boxing code? Is it the PAL version?
Uh,
Was there a PAL version?
I'm not sure
That's
if
the
there was a PAL version. This
No,
is
wasn't.
the
I
And
think that was
and
the
this
front cover in the U.S. version. I remember seeing in stores
because
too.
the
There you
problem
go.
the problem we had, and this is I just want to put this out there, and I haven't
Go ahead.
mentioned this point. The problem with the 3DS is it was region locked. The DS
Yes, that's
wasn't,
another
and
thing.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
hated, and I wanted this game, but
Mm.
at the time there was like I had to buy like an American 3DS just
Ah.
to play it. I thought, what is this? I was outraged. I think that's another reason that turned me off buying it. So because on my DS, you saw that there was a lot of imports that I had.
Yes.
On my 3DS, I couldn't import anything, and that also affected it. I felt. I mean,
Mm.
and now there's a workaround, so I can actually play that game.
Well, there you go.
I mean, it's a
No,
good
that's not the
thing
point.
region lock
At the
doesn't
time-
exist anymore, right?
Yes, region lock doesn't
Well,
exist on the Switch
well-
either. Yeah, that's good.
Well, at the time, for that's one of the things I really didn't like about the 3DS, which it was region locked, and that really turned me off because I couldn't play this game. Like now, there's a workaround this, and they've obviously done things we can get around and play these games for us in the PAL. It's just like, why did they do that? And I know why. It's because they wanted to They wanted to avoid. You know how I mentioned that point about how we pay a lot more for video games because we get special editions, and how you get cheaper games. It's because of price discrimination. That's the reason they region locked it. And I can understand why Nintendo of America wanted to just lock their games to the American base, and why Nintendo Europe or Nintendo Europe just wanted to keep it for the European people buying the European stock. Which I think that's a bit. It's like DVDs and Blu-rays. They have their regions, but I get why they do it. But I tell you what, that's one thing that I did like. And with the Switch, it's not region locked, so no big deal. But I think that goes back to like the last point I want to make about like why the 3DS wasn't as well. What sort of why my library is more anemic compared to my DS library. So it was a lot of stuff I wanted was restricted because of the region I was in.
All right, go on. Yeah, the other ones that I'll just make this quick. Joe would appreciate this one. Shin Megami Tensei: Strange Journey Redo. It's a mix of the usual monster hunting, demon hunting / the first person dungeon crawling aspect. I played it originally on the DS. But they did a redo version on the 3DS with slightly better graphics.
That's in no relation to the Persona series, right?
The Persona series is actually the spin-off to the SMT series.
Yes, I gotcha.
Yes, precisely. The Persona series, people view the Persona series as the main series, and the Shin Megami Tensei series as the side. Yeah, it's absolutely the other way around. The SMT series is the main series, and Persona.
I gotcha.
Funnily enough, is like it's like the side quest series.
Yeah,
now I'm
Shin
going
Megami
to
Tensei, like it was released around the 80s, right?
Was it the 80s? I don't recall. I remember playing the very first
late
SMT on PS1 as that I completely forgot what it was titled, but I think it was also Persona. So that was when I first encountered it. Now I'm going to steal from two of my co-panelists here because I know they were planning on featuring these games, but I have to say that these are some of the ones that I really am interested in playing in the near future. One of them is Ever Oasis from which is Miss Eileen Tadeo of whatchamacallit, of our Timeless Gamer podcast panels, who couldn't be here sadly. This was the game that she was going to be featuring. I haven't played it myself, but I am very much interested in it because if it is anything like what Miss Hino says about Fantasy Life, I would definitely enjoy this because Fantasy Life I enjoyed tremendously, and I even went so far as to play the mobile game of Fantasy Life. I think Fantasy Life came out with a mobile version, but it's not exactly the same game as the one that is on the 3DS. But it's good enough. You can grind your character. You have different lifestyles and different job classes and everything. So Ever Oasis, if it's anything at all like Fantasy Life, I think I'm going to enjoy it. And the last one I'm going to steal from Joe because I remember I know that he's going to feature this, but I'm going to preempt him. Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology on the 3DS because this one, if I remember correctly, came out in the DS as well, and I played that, and that was a lot of fun. The time jumping aspect. There you go. Miss Hino is showing the DS version. That was a lot of fun. Greg is going to Dan is going to point out that almost anything time jumping related is going to be better than Chrono Trigger. We're going to be causing a war here, but yes, we're going to be causing a war in the comments now. But yeah, generally, Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. I am looking forward to replaying this in 3D format eventually in the future because everybody's whittling down their backlogs, and if I get to it before my kid tosses me into the old folks home, even better. There you go. All right, back to you, Viraj.
Pass me the controller here.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, when I get to the old folks home, I bet you I am going to start a gaming league. I'm going to start the old man gaming league in the old folks home. There you go.
I'm begging you, nurse. Let me play. I've got to beat them.
I remember when this first came out. Okay, Grandpa.
What am I to say? I mean, I'm absolutely amazed, at what you've had to say, Sir John, because like I thought I had the DS. I had four different consoles of it. But I had, and compared to you guys, you had like the games. You had more games than me. So I'm like a bit embarrassed as well. I'm thinking, I was the man.
You're the captain. You're the captain of the topic, so you. But
you have my great respect because you have such a nice collection of games. You have games that I think I didn't even know existed. You know, I'm fascinated by half your collections. Like, I'm aware of them as they were coming out at the time. But the thing with the 3DS for me was I was so engrossed with the content I had, not just with the 3DS, but its predecessor, the DS. As you saw, I had just so much fun to play with. It's like the hunger for me to buy more 3DS games. Obviously, I made a point about that Sega 3D thing that you had. I wanted that game, but they didn't launch it in my region. So there was that issue. Obviously, there's another way I can play it now, but I can't talk about it here. But they're black magic. But there are other ways you can
sailing the high seas, as I call it, sailing the high seas.
Look, listen. The DS is not the 3DS is no longer supported, so I don't feel guilty. It's not like I'm not. It's like anyway. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But the fact of the matter is that there was a limitation there. But what I loved about the 3DS, I think the reason it stayed relevant and why it did even outsold the PSP Vita. That was a competition it had. And the reason it did that is because, and I strongly believe this, is because the backwards compatibility aspect of a 3DS made it so much worthwhile. So many people I knew when I was working in the shop that I was at traded in their old DSs for the 3DS because they couldn't afford the newer console. And it subsidized the cost of it a lot. So people like me who like to collect, I'll just buy it brand new or whatever. Some people were just casual and so I'll just trade in the old one with the new. It made it affordable to that extent. And you can still use your existing library. And there was so much cheap, and I use the terms cheap content on the DS still lying behind us. That was like your entry-level games, and there were so many great cheap games behind us. There wasn't an incentive necessarily to buy the new 3DS game as well. And I, like I mentioned, during the pandemic, I bought Aliens Infestation, which is a game that I brought up on the DS, and that was a late release of the DS, for my 3DS, just to play something that was a Metroidvania game. This is one for you, Sir Greg, because you mentioned how you like the Shantae series and the Metroidvania stuff. Way Forward, who are responsible for the Shantae series, they made that Aliens Infestation game that Sega published. That might be right up your street, my friend. So give that Aliens Infestation a go. It's definitely on your radar. I think you'll love that game too. If you love the Aliens movie, that's a good one. But I think to conclude, on my point on the 3DS, like to conclude, I have to still mention my favorite games on the 3DS, don't I? Well, they actually share with Sir Greg. I share one with him, which is Kid Icarus Uprising. It is an amazing game, but it's just the controls are just they're just awkward. But if they could just port it on the Switch, it would be so amazing. That's what I'll say with Kid Icarus. It just needs a bit of changing with the control mechanism. But as a brawler, as a rail shooter, the comedy in the game, the content, the graphics are amazing. I love the way the game, but I just love it as an experience. That's what I'll say about Kid Icarus Rising. There was just something. There's so much love poured into that game because Kid Icarus has had no love until this game came out. And it's a shame that it's not a relevant Nintendo IP that's at the forefront anymore. In the same way, Star Fox isn't as relevant. It's used as a tech demo. So I'd love to see that again. So that's actually one of my favorite Nintendo 3DS games. The other two, it's a Zelda game, but not the same one as Sir Greg mentioned. It's actually Ocarina of Time in 3D, and that's because because I didn't own an N64 when it came out. I got it later on. But because I got an N64 later on, the 3D was jarring on that. The graphics were a bit jarring. The 3D on the 3DS version was clean. The water transparencies were lovely. And the point you made, so Greg, and I totally agree with you. Something that I totally left my head about the 3DS. And it's not just the 3D you were buying. The graphics were better. The graphics were actually better. And that's something that was overlooked, sadly. But the graphics for Ocarina of Time in 3D are amazing. And I could play that game again and again. And that's actually my favorite adventure game on the 3DS. It's a port of an old game. That's the crazy thing. It's an old game, but I really enjoyed that game. It's old for new, and people say it's more money for old rope. Well, this old rope had a lovely look of paint to it. I'll tell you that now, and it made me want to play a game that I didn't really get what the hype was about at the time with Ocarina of Time. Yeah. My friend Sir Dan, who we know famously doesn't like Ocarina of Time, but I really did like that game, and the 3DS made me like that game in the way that it played. So I will say that that is my second game that I liked in the system. And I want to say Star Fox 64 3D as well, because that actually comes in the same boat as that, because that looks amazing on the 3DS. Not just the 3D, even if you play it in 2D mode, that's an amazing game on the 3DS. The way it plays, the speed of that aircraft, it's just so immersive. The way that it plays, the N64 could not replicate that. It's actually a port worth playing. So I'd say those two. But obviously, my favorite will obviously. I'm gold at this Mario Kart 7. I love that game.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
anyway.
you
So
mentioned
top
the
different
Star
ones.
Fox game. It kind of makes me want an F-Zero 3DS game now.
Right,
Just
I mean,
imagine how
this-
clean that the
I know,
graphics would
it's
look
like-
in that.
Even on the DS, there was no F-Zero game. So it's like Nintendo didn't sort of translate their famous
it's
IPs
one of their
on the-
most neglected franchises, I should say.
But then again, Greg, if you really want a Star Fox game, you should check out Starlink Battle for Atlas on the Switch.
I've
the
heard about
Switch
that.
version, yeah.
I didn't know if it was just I didn't.
You get
I
that
thought
toy
it was
with
more
it.
of an RTS.
Yes, it's actually some people actually say that it's a very decent Star Fox game because the
Okay.
Switch version has Star Fox in it
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a main character, as a playable character, and it does have that using all the characters, all flying the ships and everything, and going open world and all of that. It's a pretty decent game. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in Star Fox on the modern era, then Starlink
Yeah.
Battle for Atlas on the Switch.
I'm also looking forward to when Exodiac comes out on Steam.
Oh
the
yeah,
full
gotta
version.
check that out.
It's just a bit. It's just early access right now as we speak. I was trying it out some time ago and just had a recent update. I got to look back because they added a few more features. But yeah, one of the few points, if I could interject, Viraj, because you mentioned backwards compatibility. That's a feature that everybody seems to be phasing out these days or wants to phase out. Because they want to make more money with the current consoles we had. We saw it firsthand with the PlayStation 3, because when that first came out, it was still backwards compatible with the PS2 and PS1.
Yes.
But then after about a year or so, if I remember right, they decided, you know what, we're axing that because we need our PS3 games to sell.
Only for you
Screw you guys.
Americans. Only for you Americans.
Yeah.
Our PS3s in the Europe region, we never had the
America
emotion chip
was
in
still
it.
one of the bigger
Oh, really?
markets.
No, we never had the emotion chip. It was emulation. It was emulation backwards compatibility. So we only had like 100 PS2 titles that were backwards compatible.
What I'm saying is, all these corporations that are not in relation to the PC market, that are working on their consoles. I mean, there's still the Xbox that our recent series consoles are still keeping their Xbox games backward compatible, both physical and digital, and I praise that to high heavens that they're still doing that. But Sony has just never has never
has never had any good regard.
I don't know how to say it. They just
Sony,
keep kicking me off with their
Sony
anti-consumer practices.
Yes, Sony has never had really good regard for its consumer base and for the prior purchases of its products.
I think
Nintendo to a certain, not as big of an extent, but Nintendo can still tick people off in that regard too. Even though they've made they made really good remasters over the years. They have a fair market with the NSO, those virtual, those live, what do you call it? Those virtual console style.
That's correct. You're paying a service. It's like streaming games. That's basically
precisely.
Yeah,
you're renting the games.
But it's like, again, where's the virtual console? Where's the eShop?
They don't want you to. They don't want you to do that anymore. They don't want you to own the game. They want you to just rent it, and that's more lucrative for them. And they're both as anti-consumerist as each other now.
Yeah,
it's all about the money. We want the money.
Yeah, exactly. Though I'd say Sony is arguably worse in that regard than Nintendo. But that's up to debate.
I mean, the PS5 is backwards compatible with the PS4, and that's because Sony want to keep that fan base alive.
So far.
Will Nintendo do that with a Nintendo Switch's successor? It would be suicide if they didn't.
Krispy Kreme donuts, they'll cut that feature out in a year or so.
One more feature I forgot to mention about the 3DS. This is just how gimmicky it was. Now I have this game. It just reminded me this particular Metroid game. Now I remember it because when it came out, there's lots of promotion. It had amiibo support, didn't it? The 3DS. We forgot to mention that. So you can buy an amiibo. So you buy the Zero Suit Samus amiibo, put it onto your new 3DS because the new 3DS had amiibo built in. You had to actually buy an extension for the amiibo for the old ones as a gimmicky thing. And you could actually play Zero Suit Samus in this game if you had that amiibo. So again, that's another way of them making money for a bit of plastic and a bit of technology to let you play as Samus in Zero Suit. You know,
That
if
means
you're
that
into that sort of
the
thing.
Zero Suit Samus was already in there. You just had to unlock it.
I think it was either the fusion suit or the Zero Suit. You can, but there's other ways you can do that now. But anyway, black magic. But
Yeah,
we
black
can,
magic.
But it's interesting how they did that with the whole amiibo thing, and people did buy these amiibos, and they made loads of money on it. And it's like it's
Are
just a piece of
amiibos
plastic.
compatible with the Switch?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why they're still selling right now.
Wii U, 3DS, and Switch are what they were compatible with, and with the new 3DS, the Amiibo thing was built into it. The feature, you just touch it and you could do that. So it's really interesting how Nintendo built a whole bunch of accessories, which some of them are so obscure. I'm sure I haven't even mentioned half of them for the 3DS because they're so obscure. Not all of us sort of remembered them. Even the AR feature wasn't even used or utilized. There were so many innovations for this device that weren't fully reached their potential. And even towards the end, as I mentioned with BioWare Gold, it didn't even have any 3D on it. It's like, well, it's like Nintendo just thought, this would make a 2DS game on a 3DS and use its features. So I suppose, on paper, it was a good idea. And the 3D boom, as you mentioned, Sir Joel, was taken off then. And I love 3D. I know some people don't, but I love 3D. As long as it works fine and it's not flickering, because there are some flicker problems with the earlier stereoscopic active 3D technology that we had with the Samsung televisions. But in time, the 3D got a lot better, and the new passive 3D that we have is better. And they improved the 3D on the 3DS, so credit to Nintendo for that.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think the 3DS is, as a piece of hardware, it is their greatest handheld that they have made in terms of what you can do. It's just what stifled it, in my opinion, from what I witnessed working in the shop at the time and leaving the industry after, is the fact that there was other ways you could play games on the go. Your mobile gaming was taking off. There's other ways you could play. Why am I paying such an expensive price for this? Again, there was. I wouldn't even say the PSP Vita is even something to mention, but why not? It's a bit of competition. The phone became a very popular thing to do for it. Again, Nintendo had a problem with their Wii U. It was a failure to launch, take off. 10 million units worldwide. I love the Wii U, but it just didn't do it for them. They had to take the resources for people who were developing games with the 3DS for the Wii U, and they were splitting their resources, and they were really clutching at straws. And even though the 3DS was making them money, they had to think out of the box. And in 2017, you have the Switch, and the rest is history. Let's just pool our resources into one hybrid system, and that works for everyone. And that was actually probably the right business
Some would
decision they
say
made.
that the Wii U died for the Switch, so that the Switch could walk.
For me, the Wii U is a Kickstarter for a Switch. I was one of those Kickstarter people. I paid £370 for my Wii U.
Right? Oh, wow. Yikes.
So
Okay.
On release, I bought the most expensive variant. So
Dang. Okay. Well, Miss Hino does make a good point. The Switch is essentially what the Wii U should have been, but I guess the prototyping is something that Nintendo tends to do in the market, but or iterations, shall we say? Like you move it one step further. Anyway,
but to conclude, because we're coming up to the end now, my final thoughts on the 3DS. I absolutely loved it as a piece of hardware on release. I think it's a really good handheld in spite of all its flaws. Yeah, and it did have its flaws. The first edition has its flaws for sure. If you're in the market for a 3DS, get the new one. Get the new one if it makes sense. And you can always, if you're worried about the 3D, the new one's actually a lot more easy in the eyes. Try it before you buy. And yeah, it's a lot bigger now. The new 3DS, this is not the XL version. This is actually quite comfortable, even though it's not an XL version. The battery life is better on the new 3DS. It's got all the features that it should have had on release, to be fair. Again, you can change the faceplates on them if you're into that. Obviously, I keep my special edition. It doesn't need to be changed. I did actually have a Mario. Actually, it came with Mario faceplates with it in the box, but I like the Japanese Nintendo writing or whatever it is. I think it's a lovely unit, and it has a lovely library. And if there's not enough 3DS games on there, there's so many awesome DS games that you can play on this. And again, it's a really good portable handheld that is actually portable. I find the Switch to be a bit too big, so it stays in its dock, and I use it as a home console. And I actually don't like the Joy-Cons of the Switch, because like yourself, so Greg, my hands aren't as thick as yours; they're quite wide. So I use a Pro controller for my Switch. But this thing, the new 3DS and the XL, this is the best way to game on the go, in my opinion. Still in 2023, and you can turn the 3D off. It's got a nice 10-hour battery life if you really stretch it. But it's still long enough for you to get enough hours of gaming to go. It has such a huge variety of software on there, including 3DS and DS games. And if you want to use Black Magic, you can do all sorts of things with it. But that's another thing. But it's the best console for Black Magic as well. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, not that I'm Lord Voldemort or anything,
Oh
but
no, no. Mm-mm.
but I think but collecting for it, unlike the Advance, it's still quite cheap. Yes, there are some games that are very expensive for it. I accept that, and that's what
Yeah.
Black Magic is for. But there are a lot of great games out there that are cheap. Like the games that I have, Mario Kart 7, Star Fox 64 3D, Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, you can get them quite cheap. So actually, if you want something really cool to play on the go and you haven't played these games yet, and I mentioned some old games, Mario 3D Land and stuff like that, there's so many on them that sold in bucket loads that are cheap. So if you're looking for a console that you can get, well, I think these are the console itself is expensive, mind you, but the games on it for it are quite affordable and cheap. So that's what I will say to conclude. But what are your thoughts, guys? What do you have to conclude? What do you have to say? Let's start with you, Sir Greg, because I know you've got lots of opinions and you've surprised me this episode. I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
So go on.
As I mentioned, the 3DS did have a rough launch when it first came out, back during the start of the 3D craze, and I always found its history to be pretty fascinating, from its rough launch to its massive rise to the steady decline it had when stuff like the Nintendo Switch started to make their rounds. And as we speak, the 3DS could very well be Nintendo's final handheld console, truly handheld console, as they're making their focus on the Switch and the supposedly upcoming Switch 2. And if this truly does end up being their final handheld console, I'd say it's a pretty good one to go out on to end the era. So even though I consider the DS and especially Game Boy Advance to be more superior handheld consoles, the 3DS still had a good run, and it'd be nice to raise a glass here and salute for the fact that it ended the handheld era of Nintendo on a pretty good note. That's all I gotta say. Also, by Link Between Worlds, that's my top pick for the 3DS.
Okay.
There we go. All right. What about you, Lady Hinu? What do you have to say about it? Your final thoughts on the Nintendo 3DS?
Well, I guess for those who are still on the fence if it's worth it to get a 3DS in 2023, I say that yeah, you can still get a 3DS and enjoy the very vast catalog of games it has to offer, as well as the backwards compatibility. So how many games is that? That's the DS and the 3DS combined. So many genres, so many classics, and
Thousands.
Yeah, and don't just hold
Well,
on to your regular
what?
DS if you want to play the GBA stuff, of course. That's
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
you can't really experience the dual screen gimmick in any other console. So you're gonna see a lot of very innovative gameplay wherein they utilize both of the screens. So yeah, I think it's something that people should experience for the if they're able to.
And what about you, so what about you, Sir Joel? What are your thoughts on the 3DS?
Well, in my case, the 3DS, get it particularly for the kinds of games that you would not experience otherwise, 3D wise. For in other avenues like the Switch or the DS, particular games do have certain games really will pop out. I'm absolutely sure for you. And as Viraj did say, the gameplay, the 3D gameplay will be extremely important for those. Um, the bargain hunter in me says go to the retro game conventions, go to the yard sales. Don't worry about about the cost so much as it is. People do sell off their 3DSs because of the fact that they want to hop on the next big thing. Find yourself a good priced machine, play it. It's close. The games are close enough to the obsolescence of the hardware for them to be cheap enough for you to still snatch up for a good price right now. The gameflation hasn't hit it yet the same way that it has other games like the Game Boy Advance games or the Super NES games and everything. So they're still close enough to having been phased out for you to get them for cheap. So it's still a good way to experience a slice of gaming history. The 3DS is quality hardware. It's got quality games. So and of course, they have a ton of good software for the kiddos too. So if you are looking for something for the kids to play, not just you, but also your kids to have shared experiences with, 3DS/2DS is a good buy. So that's my take on it.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what about you, Sir Joe? What do you have to say?
Oh no, before me, how about
JDM.
Sir JDM? I don't think he was
Yeah,
able to
we haven't heard
share
anything from
his.
him.
I know I was going to get to him. I
Hey,
was looking at the faces in order of the
no,
faces.
that's
But let's
fine.
do this. Let's do it, Sir JDM. Let's see what you have to
Hmm.
say, my man.
You still
JDM is
got
a man
time.
of
Go on
yeah.
ahead.
JDM is a
Yeah.
man of few words, but the few words that he says are very strong,
Very
Gold.
profound.
well
Very
thought out,
profound. Let's do this. Let's do
very
this today.
profound.
Well, for the 3DS, I only got a 3DS because my brother-in-law gave it to me. This original,
Oh, the aqua blue.
this
That's
one,
tiny.
Aqua Blue,
but
that's a good one. Yeah.
yeah.
That's gonna hurt my
So
hands for sure.
the yeah, I got big hands as well, so I can understand. And the only reason I got this 3DS is because of the Pokemon games. So
Mm.
here, so
Oh,
I mostly played.
What games are those?
Uh,
X and Y.
Show it,
you
show
have
it, show it, show
the
it, show it, show it.
you have Pokemon X and Y,
X and Y,
There
yeah.
you go.
then you have Pokemon Omega Ruby. The
Oh,
other
yeah.
Okay.
one is Alpha Sapphire. So
Mm.
this is the remake of the third generation Pokemon. And I have Pokemon Moon and the
Red
like
Sun.
the uh,
Oh, Ultra Moon.
Ultramon. This is like
Oh,
the upgraded version. I also have
wow.
the Pokemon Sun. Yeah.
I was going to say
Pokemon
Sun
Sun.
was there, Red Sun or something.
So
Yeah.
I'm a Pokemon guy. So I
Oh,
love
are you?
Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Are you really?
but most people are.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
Yeah.
not forget, Pokemon is all Nintendo really have to make for their handhelds, and they're done. You know, the amount of Pokemon that sells for their handhelds. I know we've avoided talking about Pokemon, but it's probably the most popular selling game on the 3DS. You know, we
Yeah.
don't really play them, but no, good for you, JDM. You love Pokemon, go for it.
So I actually learned a lot of games in this episode. So maybe I will try the Fire Emblem
Metal,
games.
yeah.
There's the Metal Gear
I was
Solid
going to say Metal Gear Solid
3.
3D, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think I'm going to like that one because I already have this.
Oh
I
yeah.
have
There you go.
Yeah,
the
it's,
HD version here, so why would I get the 3DS? But
you
maybe
might
if
want
I
some.
get the copy,
There
You
you
might
go.
like the,
I could. Yeah.
you might
Yeah,
like the
Miss.
pop-out graphics.
Yeah.
It's actually good. It's
Yeah.
actually a good port, the 3D version of Metal Gear Solid on
Yeah.
the 3DS. I've seen it played, but I agree. I think Metal Gear Solid is a game that looks good on the big screen. I'll say that much for
Yeah.
it. So you have that as well. You want that cinematic immersion. Not saying that the
And-
3D isn't bad on these sort of games, but yeah, there's a limitation of taking it on the go.
Yeah.
So you have that. All right, thank you very much, JDM. Unless there's anything else more you want to say. No,
Nah, I think he's good.
it's good.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
we got a message here from a question here from
Okay.
from Master J. Have you guys played Harvest Moon on the 3DS?
Ooh.
Yes, Miss Hino was showing off her Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons games. Again, I love farming games, and it's one of the things that really, there you go. And of course the Animal Crossing series. Yes. Look, I call it the relaxing
No,
stressful genre.
Master J
I'm
said,
not
"Have you
really-
played?" Not
I'm not really into farming simulation
played?
games, though I am willing to give the Rune Factory series a chance. That's supposed
Rune
to have
Factory.
a grounded story, from what I've heard. I mean,
Yes,
are
Rune
those
Factory is
games
good.
worth picking up?
Very much so. Very much so. Think of Rune Factory as Harvest Moon and dungeon crawling combined.
Ah,
Yes.
very nice.
Yes. There you go. All right. Down to you, Joe.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed if we have enough time for me to showcase the game that I'm playing. My 3DS library, guys, is not as extravagant, not as luxurious as the
Probably the
ones we
same as
have
me.
here.
You're probably the same as me, right?
So,
These guys
um,
prompt me in every aspect. These guys are beating me, man. This is my,
for,
you know.
for the sake of show and tell, which is a
Mm,
tradition here in Timeless Gamer.
yes.
Sure.
Mm.
Here in Australia, 3DS games are hard to come by.
Oh.
The mentality here is whichever gaming system is on is most popular, then they have the shelf space for it. They don't really carry
Ah,
the last gaming systems. So right now it's just a Switch, Xbox XS, and the PS5. Some PS4 stragglers still there. 3DS not as much. So unless you find a few on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or Amazon, if you're able to find uh, more available or affordable for that matter. Let's try Little Battlers right here.
mm,
Little Battlers XC. Little Battlers Experience. There you go. Small robots. Typical kind of a JRPG slash with miniature robots.
mm.
And then of course there's Xenoblade Chronicles
Xenoblade,
3D.
yeah.
Mm.
I
You
gotta
got
get back to that
your
one.
Brave Default 1 and 2.
Default. Big games for the system.
My brother loves
Mm,
that
yeah.
one, Bravely Default.
Brave Default
Mhm.
1 and 2. Which is the predecessor of Harvestella. Kind of art wise.
Yes.
The port from the PS2 classic, Tales of
Tales
the
of the
Abyss.
Abyss. Oh wow. Okay. Okay. I didn't know that existed.
A nice
I'd say I like
crossover.
Vesperia and
Hmm.
more.
A nice crossover from the from Bandai Namco and Capcom. You got your Project X Zone 1 and 2.
Hmm.
JRPGs as well. JRPG crossover, kind of. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Very nice.
Yeah. Mhm.
That
Hmm.
and that. Oh, maybe I should turn off that stupid light. Okay, there you go.
Hmm.
And you got your this one is still inside the plastic. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers
Soul
1.
Hackers, yes.
I got the second one for the PS5, and then for some reason I'm collecting this franchise, RPG Maker FES.
Oh wow.
Ah,
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so if you don't like your RPGs, then make your own.
yes. That's basically it. Yes, it's true.
Final
That
Fantasy 16
definitely works better for an
demo,
RPG
Trolls.
genre than whatever WarioWare was.
Mm,
We also got Fire Emblem Warriors.
Warriors, yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong with that.
Basically, Dynasty
And
Warriors with Fire
Dynasty
Emblem
Warriors, yeah,
characters.
that's
There you go.
basically it. Yeah.
Mm.
We also got Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth.
Mhm.
Very nice. Very nice.
And we also got looking at you, Sir Joel, Yokai Watch 1,
Yes. Nice. Mm-mm.
Yokai Watch 2,
Two, yes.
Bunny Spirits,
Mm.
Bonnie Spirits,
Mhm.
and Yokai Watch 2, Fleshy Souls,
Yes.
Hmm.
which I got for less than $20 each.
Mhm. Yes. Very good. Yokai
And,
Watch 2, Bony Flesh. Okay, anyway.
And now they're probably worth a king's ransom.
Nah, yeah.
My
Mhm. Pretty much.
my go-to games for the 3DS if I'm just bored or I'm inside the train or waiting for or waiting with a long line ahead of me.
Mhm.
I'm very much of a fan of card games. So we got Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal,
Okay.
the World Duel Carnival, and of course we got the third installment of the Vanguard card fight series.
Mm.
Vanguard Card Fight G.
Mhm.
This is a Japanese. This is a Japanese game,
Mhm.
and the one game that I'm currently playing for the 3DS just to prepare for this show,
Mhm.
Radiant Historia. Hey,
Yes.
making another appearance right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
So I was contemplating whether to get the 3DS copy, and
Mm.
I'm sure. I mean, I want Sir Joel to be proud of me, being my silent whisperer. Get it, 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 get it. So I got
Good.
the original Radiant Historia for the DS, which is still sealed in the plastic, and
Yes.
then your standard edition
Hmm.
Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if we have the time to showcase my first impressions of it.
Well, we can
And
still talk about it a little bit, but let's see what else you got.
well, that's it,
That's
really.
basically it. Yeah. Well, the thing
That's it.
about the Radiant Historia
Like I mentioned,
series,
guys, my collection is not as as
ex-
luxurious as these guys.
nah,
Well,
no.
no, this is it. I mean, it's really interesting because with you, it's like if I look at, I'm judging you people. I look at you. I'm looking at what you. I'm looking at. It's really interesting. It tells me a lot about how you game and what games you like, and a lot of you are into your simulation RPG sort of thing, and
Yes.
that's a consistent genre that I see there. I'm
Mhm.
thinking, okay, it's probably a really good game, but it's not something that I'm gonna like want to play on the go. An RPG is a
Mm.
game that I particularly just like to sit and
You
if I'm gonna
need
play
to
RPG, it
play
has
it
to be a big
sitting
TV. I have
down
to have a big TV. I have to sit
or
down.
in a bit.
I
If you're
don't.
grinding, sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose if I'm commuting to work, and when I bought this thing, I was commuting to work, and
Mm.
the commute was like an hour. And then the worst thing about an RPG is when you put it down, you're like, oh, where was I again? I want to have a good number of
Mm.
hours where I was
That's
at.
true.
So for me, I like the adventure platformer stuff. RPGs for me will always be for the home console for the big screen, and if I can sit down and have time for it. No, I'm not judging you guys. You guys love RPGs that much. You'll take it on the go with you guys.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yes.
you guys are
Only
hardcore.
when I grind. Only
You
when
guys
I
don't
grind.
mess about. You guys don't
Mm.
mess about, man. You guys make me. I'm a choir boy compared to you guys. You guys take it
Well,
to the
Well,
let's just say that RPGs have the best bang for buck in terms of story.
yeah,
Like
and you get a
Yeah.
lot of game in there. You
well,
get a lot of
especially
game in there.
Metroidvanias that contain certain RPG
Yeah.
aspects. I would say.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, the
Mhm.
Castlevania ones are definitely got a lot of RPG aspects in them, and it's a shame that the 3DS never had. They had that Lords of Shadow Mirror Fate game, and it didn't work because it didn't have that DNA that the DS and the Game Boy Advance Castlevania games had, and they tried to go more real time action sort of style they're trying to emulate the Lords of Shadow series on the consoles onto the 3DS, and
I've
for me,
always said that gaming is the most cost efficient way of entertainment nowadays because of the fact that it might be expensive for an initial outlay, like you're paying $60 for a brand new game. But if you get the game for close to 80 to 100 hours per game, that's a lot of bang for buck. We're talking about if you factor the amount of cash that you're laying out for the number of hours that you're enjoying it compared to, like, let's say going to the movies. Like a $20 ticket will only net you 2 hours worth of entertainment, whereas $70 will net you 100. That's pennies
but
per hour. Hmm.
there's a flip side to that
Correct.
coin because games are the only media out there where you actually have to play them all the way through to the end to really appreciate
Oh, well, that's
it.
true.
And if you
That's
get,
very
if
true.
you get stuck on, if you get stuck on a game like my man Sir Greg here, he got stuck on Mara 3D Land. I don't know why he went halfway through it and gave up. But if he
Well,
gets stuck,
I
he lost interest.
I
He
didn't
lost
get
interest,
stuck.
so
It just wasn't
I'm
catching my
winding you up.
attention.
I'm being sarcastic, of course. But yeah, it's yeah, that's the point there, isn't it? If you find the game boring, it's like, why did I spend this money on a game that wasn't
Yeah.
any good or that I didn't really get into? So there's something to be said about that too. There's a flip side to that coin.
That's true.
But-
That's very true.
But the
Plus,
fact that
as a frugal spender too, we're in this era now where you don't really have to spend $60 to $70 to get a worthwhile experience, even if it's like 20, 30 plus hours long. You know?
Very true. And like Guybrush Threepwood says in Monkey Island, never pay more than $20 for a computer game. It's like
Right.
yeah. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Guybrush Threepwood, he's the main
Nice quote.
protagonist of the DOS. What was it, DOS? Of the old PC game, Secret of Monkey Island.
LucasArts.
LucasArts, yes. Anyway,
We
for
got a
those of
message
you-
here from Miss Eileen. Still a good number of suggestions. No. Compared to
Well, he
these
has more
people,
3DS games than I do.
these people, no.
These people.
Hey,
No, you have
people.
more
These
3DS games than I do.
No,
these
no,
three,
no.
yeah.
I had more
Oh.
DS games. I can tell you that much.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
Speaking
but
of Miss Eileen,
Yes.
she was able to bring us a quick recording of her
Let's-
take of
let's
the
do it.
yes.
yeah.
All right,
So
let's do this.
let's see what you got. So take it away, Miss Eileen.
Hi everyone, this is Ensign Porter. Welcome to Timeless Gamer, and we're talking today about the Nintendo 3DS. It is a wonderful handheld system, And my first experience was in 2011 when my cousin asked me to help her out beat Kingdom Hearts bosses. Well, they were technically just DS games, not 3DS, but that was my first experience of the handheld console. I enjoyed it a lot and decided to save up, so I bought one in around 2015, which was late in its lifespan. I own a 3DX XL, and it's a bigger console and bigger screen than the regular 3DS. It is better to hold for adults because it's bigger, yeah. What I have are a few games, considering Nintendo games are a bit expensive, even more so here in the Philippines relatively. I'm not sure if you could see the picture over there, but my games are just Pokemon Alpha. Hi everyone, this is Ensign Porter. Welcome to Timeless Gamer, and we're talking today about the Nintendo 3DS. It is a wonderful handheld system, and my first experience was in 2011 when my cousin asked me to help her out beat Kingdom Hearts bosses. Well, they were technically just DS games, not 3DS, but that was my first experience of the handheld console. I enjoyed it a lot and decided to save up, so I bought one in around 2015, which was late in its lifespan. I own a 3DX XL, and it's a bigger console and bigger screen than the regular 3DS. It is better to hold for adults because it's bigger, yeah. What I have are a few games, considering Nintendo games are a bit expensive, even more so here in the Philippines relatively. I'm not sure if you could see the picture over there, but my games are just Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, Moon, Donkey Kong Returns 3D, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, Mario and Luigi Dream Team, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and Ever Oasis. I also have a couple of 3DS digital purchases like Resident Evil Revelations, Mercenaries, Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition, Ironfall Invasion, Kirby's Blowout Blast, Sakura Samurai Art of the Sword, and Pushmo. So moving on to my favorite games. First is Ever Oasis. So before the Nintendo eShop closed, I was looking up what games I should buy before hopefully scalpers don't, increase the price of their sales. So while the eShop was still open, I tried to look up games I could buy. And I saw Ever Oasis as one of the recommendations. Fortunately, there was a demo version that I got to download before the eShop closed. I enjoyed it a lot, so I decided to buy a physical copy. It is an action RPG released in 2016 and developed by Grezzo. It is directed and produced by Koichi Ishii, creator of the Chocobo and Moogle, as well as the Mana series at Square Enix. It is an overlooked RPG as it was released near the end of 3DS's lifespan. So you play as the main character Tetu or Teti, and you create an oasis with the help of Esna, a water spirit. This is after the older brother of your main character is kidnapped, and his oasis gets taken over by creatures taken over by chaos. So chaos is like an evil energy that is the opposite of the good in this world. So you grow your oasis as visitors look for refuge and become residents in your oasis. Then those residents build shops, you get supplies for them by foraging, mining, fighting monsters, etc. You explore the map and advance by solving puzzles with the help of your residents, who have different skill sets that work on different areas. You can synthesize items and weapons. It has a nice story. The game is cute, but some might not get into it because of that. The game's rating is ESRB 10+, and PEGI 7. So the game is good for everyone. It might not be for players looking for a real challenge though. But overall, it's a very nice, feel-good gameplay. I would say that playing this game for a few hours, I found that there are good lessons for children, or adults even, because there's a sense of community here. You are helpful and you're kind to people in need in this game, considering you are the chief of the oasis. There's like a master greeter achievement because in your oasis you have visitors and there are like penguin owl creatures called newts, so you greet everyone if you like, and this results in the master greeter achievement. I actually find that really nice because as an adult in the working environment. It's like a good feeling to greet your coworkers, even if they are from different departments. It's a good social, social skill that you can learn here, and you can apply in real life even as an adult. And then also this game can use the 3D function. So that's a very quick overview of Ever Oasis and what I could say about it. My second game that I love on the 3DS is Pocket Card Jockey. It is a card-based game developed by Game Freak. Yes, Game Freak as in the makers of Pokemon. It was released in 2013 on the 3DS, and it used to be available in iOS and Android, but just in Japan. Unfortunately, it shut down in December 2015. So in this game, you are the jockey. The male jockey wants to one day take over his father's orange farm, while the female jockey wants to one day get married and have kids. So you have a choice between the two. So the beginning of the story or the game is that the jockey loses their first round and gets trampled, gets into an accident, leading to an angel descending on them to give them encouragement and teach them how to view horse racing as a game of solitaire. So, that's kind of odd but creative. I cannot really describe it because the experience, you can only understand it if you have the experience of the game. So going to gameplay, you are playing solitaire actually. So you have to play like 2 to 5 times of solitaire rounds per race, depending on the track length. Along the way, you get power-ups that help you grow your horses and win races. Every perfect solitaire means that there is no stamina loss for your horse. Imperfect solitaire means stamina loss, and that is a huge thing in this game. And if you lose a huge lot of stamina, then you can lose control of your horse, and it will be a definite loss. So, like Ever Oasis, I was looking for games to buy before the eShop closed, and this one is digital. This was recommended by many people online, and I really don't like card games, but reviews said the game is really good and addicting. Sure enough, it is addictive, and there's so much replayability. I think I enjoyed this game because, speaking retro here, I played Solitaire a lot since the good old Windows 3.1. The one with the fishes, the palm tree, the robot. Only people our age could remember, those old deck designs of the Windows 3.1 Solitaire. So in this game, the horses are cute with a variety of designs. Horses retire gradually, so you send them to breed. And when your horses have grown so much because you've played good solitaire games, they can make strong offsprings. Sometimes the games are actually down to luck. And even if you are skilled in trying to solve the solitaire rounds, sometimes you just it's down to luck sometimes because you cannot choose your deck and your cards, of course. But in this game you cannot use the 3D function, unfortunately, because this is a 2D game. Okay, so not sure why the 3DS wasn't as successful as the DS. In my opinion, maybe the 3D function isn't everyone's cup of tea, that they had to make a Nintendo 2DS later. I feel like, I think like looking at the 3D games feels like, those 3D pictures where you have to cross your eyes to look and see the hidden images, 3D images. It's not quite comfortable. It's a cool function because you can see depth in the game, but I'm not sure, maybe it can cause eye strain. Personally, I enjoyed the 3D function in a short span of time, but long term, I turn it off. But still, it's nice to see the 3D function working when the games allow. Also, unlike its predecessor, the 3DS doesn't have the GBA or Game Boy Advance backwards compatibility because it doesn't have that slot. Also, the sound or the speaker is quite weaker than the DS2. I find it really annoying how the sound is too low even if it's full volume. And I'm talking about the speaker. I don't want to use headphones or earphones when I'm playing at home. So the weak speaker is a what you call this? Really not good for me. And also, there's the region coding, which limits games one could play. There are some Japan-only releases that makes it inaccessible to Western players because of that. So that's also another negative of the 3DS. But overall, I enjoyed and still enjoy the 3DS a lot. So there, thank you, and hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode. Back to the other panelists. Thanks for your time.
This is the big problem. This is the big problem with having Miss Eileen showcase the things that she's interested. She and I are almost exactly the same when it comes to our interests. And when she showcased what do you call that, pocket card jockey, I have to have it now. It dismayed me because of the fact that it's only a digital game and it's all from 3DS from the
Yeah.
3DS eShop. So I'm SOL.
Seven C's, seven C's.
Yeah, okay. As Miss Ina would say, we have to sail the 7 seas now. That's
Black magic, black magic. We call it black magic.
as Miss Eileen's
She
showcase.
brought up a good point actually about the volume. Did you guys notice it? That the volume for
Yeah.
the 3DS is so low. I'm not sure for the new 3DS. How was it, Viraj?
Mhm.
Well, look. If you look at it, like, I agree. Do you know what? I tell you what DS had the best speakers. It was the first ever one, the DS Fat. If you actually look at the size of that, there's a proper speaker they put in there. And ever since after that, it's like the sound quality of every incarnation on Nintendo's DS handhelds has gotten weaker and weaker. And to it's been consistently weak with the first 3DS. I mean, you can look at them or show. You can just see the speakers on all of them. I mean, maybe the 3DS XL, because it's got 5 little dots. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
You got 5 little, but it's a small little speaker, mate. It's tinny. And it doesn't matter how many dots there are in the holes. Like that's the XL new one. I mean, look, to be honest, the sound is just about passable, but it doesn't give you that bass or that power that the original DS had. And I think they were just worried about conserving battery life, if I'm being honest here. And that's why the battery life. And one thing I will say about Nintendo DS to the 3DS is the battery life has gotten better and better with each incarnation.
They all got earphone jacks too, so
They
if
all
you have
have
a really
3.5
good headset, then you can't go wrong there.
You can't go wrong there, and I think that's where they were trying to promote it. But Nintendo, I think one reason why they were always successful with their handhelds is they were very good at conserving battery life. That's something that that's something its competitors struggle to do. I'm looking at you, Sega, with your 6 battery Game Gear. And,
Game Gear.
I'm looking at the older lot, but even going with the PlayStation Portable. That was an okay. You got 3 hours on there, to be honest, and max at a pinch. But even then, like it's that big screen, and that sound does actually take up battery. But look, the 3DS does offer. The audio quality is good, but not as powerful as you'd like. But you've got headphones. You can actually put portable speakers in there if you really wanted the sound to be powerful via 3.5mm jack if you really cared. But look, it's a portable console. It's generally very good at what it does. I think for collecting, it's actually a good machine. I think there are obviously very, very expensive games now. You've got to get that because it's obviously a has been. Obviously, it's not been on the market for a while now. A lot of these collectors are buying up all these really, really good games, and they're so collectible and expensive now. So yes, you are going to have to pay a lot of money. However, we are living in a world with black magic and where that can exist.
Yeah, it's sailing the 7 seas. Yeah, I know. No. I mean, because I was looking at the comments here on our chats. Yeah, I just want to feature a couple of comments here in the chats. One is Jeff Sardalia of Tito Popa Gaming. He says, "This is what I'm waiting for in the showcase of games." He says, "I will buy the 3DS na Eileen Tadeo, like yung pocket jockey." He really likes pocket card jockey. Miss Tadeo actually really hit a home run with that one. I want that game. Boss Jeff wants that game. And Miss Eileen says on the chats, "Super bummed I can't join live, but super thanks to Sergio for editing." And of course, Juan Gerardo de Marcos, JDM says Santa Ana horse race simulator. It's because one of the big horse racing arenas here in the Philippines is a place called Santa Ana, and he nailed that one. You're really because I don't know. It's a little sub thing with Filipinos that we kind of like our horse races. I don't know why. It's like in our subconscious somewhere. We love
Mm.
horse racing. We love boxing. We love the funniest little things. So
Was our Spanish invaders.
I guess so. That's
There's
true.
like
It's
a
what.
simulator game for just
Oh,
about every topic, is there? I want
that's
one
very true.
for
Mhm.
I want one for fail video simulators. Watching teenage idiots just
Oh
hurt
my
themselves
gosh.
constantly.
That I think there was a TV show like that one time, right?
Just
I
like
forgot what it's
Jackass.
called. Jackass. That's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. There you go. And there was a game with it too. You might want to try
Oh
that
my
one, Greg.
gosh.
There was a game. There was a game.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's it. That's it for the chats. Thank you very much, everybody. Very, very happy for the people in the chats. And I guess we'll just bring it to Joe if he can take us home then. Joe. Uh,
All right, all right.
all right. There you go.
Okay. Sorry for the quick absence. Father duties and all that.
Of course.
Okay, so we are almost we're almost 45 minutes in. Oh my god. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's just head this home. I'll probably skip some of my showcase, but that's fine. We already got plenty of content just for the just for tonight because of all of our wonderful panelists right here. So let's just go. Let's continue on with the closing remarks with Sir JDM.
Mhm.
To this closing remarks.
Right, so I would like to thank the panelists here for showing their collections and made me realize that I really need to spend or invest time and money for these 3DS games. So
Mhm.
I would be glad to start collecting starting tomorrow. I'm going to look at marketplaces for games. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Juan De Marcos of 123 Go. You can see me on Twitch. 123 Go Retro. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, mostly in the afternoon. So, and join us next week as we do another episode.
Which is
We'll just have they just have to wait for the
Yes, there you go.
The
There you
writings.
JDS
go.
is
All I will
that.
say is the writings on the wall. We can see it. So yeah, that's a clue.
Yeah.
That's a clue.
Um,
it's right there.
Yeah,
We all
it's
can
right
see it.
there.
There
Writing
you
on the
go.
wall.
Oh my god.
How about Miss Hino? Where can they find you?
They can find me in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube, but it's inactive right now. But it's here on my little what they call this, the thing here below my
Mm,
name. So
caption.
Hino
There you go.
Otora, everything's Hino Otora. So it's pretty
Mm.
easy to find.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss Hino. And how about Sir Greg? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. I am currently an admin of the Catholic Anime Geeks group page. Come join us if you have. We have almost 900 members right now, and we're hoping to
Mm.
reach it. I'm hoping it gets up to 1,000. And there's a lot. There's a lot of great stuff to talk about there. So if you want to find me, you can join us there.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir
And thank you
Greg.
so much for this showing. I've had a lot of fun this go around. I mean, even though I don't own a 3DS anymore, this has been a far more lively, more fun show than I had than the previous. Even though,
Better fun talking about it than owning one.
yeah, well, I of course I'm going to share my experiences with it, but yeah, again, it's a console I'm more fascinated with the history than the library itself.
Right. How about Sir Joel?
All right. So, yes, this has been an excellent episode. I apologize for my having come in late, but I really enjoyed the time that I spent with our panelists and our audience. You can. Oh wait, the 3DS, excellent machine, excellent games. Really, definitely something to get, especially when you want to share great experiences with the kiddos. You can find me at streaming at random times on kick.com under Banyagang Native. hashtag FUFB. Yeah, forget FB when it comes to streaming. Whatever they decide to do with their screwy streaming services, they can just have it. But yeah, we here at Timeless Gamer do our very best to educate and entertain, and we hope everybody had a good time and understood the how things were, and how things might be going to the future. Back to you.
All right. And where can we find your box of 3DS games?
At the basement, you're gonna have to get through our security system first. Okay.
There you go.
I mean,
And how about how about the leader of the show? The leader of the show for tonight, guys, Sir Viraj.
Oh,
Where
thank
can
you
they
very
find
much.
you?
You can find me on the Sega Genesis group. I'm in so Dan's Shadow actually, but there's also a YouTube channel that we've started called the Sega Mega Masters. I know, a bit weird, isn't it? I'm a Sega guy, and we're talking about a Nintendo system
Wow.
in this topic. But
Well, gamers, we'll
yeah, if
play
you
on
just
anything.
if you search Sega Mega Masters on YouTube, you're bound to find me. And we always
Mhm.
talk about Sega Mega Drive and Master System, and by all means have a look at me there. But thank you all for joining us. I hope this was as exciting for you as it was for all of us on this chat, talking about the DS and predominantly the 3DS. And thanks for sticking with us. So really appreciate it, guys.
So for those of you guys who who failed to catch that, so Sir Viraj and Sir Dan are among of the panelists of the Sega Mega Masters. It's another podcast that you can find in YouTube. And as of today, the latest episode that they did, they had an interview with Mr. Eric Wahlberg, who is a former producer and game designer back in the Sega, not during the
Not-
90s of the
From
during the 90s of
1990
Sega.
from 1993
Really?
onwards, he was actually a games tester, and then he became a producer. And he talks about his life in Sega testing and how he became and what was going on there. It's a very interesting interview because he talks about what
Very
actually
interesting
happened.
interview for all of you console wars enthusiasts, for all of you gaming history buffs out there, who just want to know more about the inner workings of the console wars during the 90s. At the perspective of the grunts.
Yeah.
All all right. And just to promote the show, Timeless Gamer, you can still catch our recorded live shows by going to Pinoy Retro Gaming Facebook page and Timeless Gamer PRG YouTube page. And for our audio versions of the show, you can still go to all of your major audio streaming podcast platforms. I will not going to mention all of those. It's very tasking to say. So we'll just end the show with the usual. Our bodies and our games may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Timeless.
Timeless.
All right.
bye
See you guys again soon. Bye.
Okay.
Launch
Bye.
up.
Thank
Thank you, PRG.